I'm still recording Sean, though he's not here. So we'll just get that space. We hear that space, that silence of that space. If we're real quiet, you can hear Sean not being here.
It's like in memoriam.
If you're real quiet, if you can hear Sean's lack of his presence.
It's like the Emmys when they play like all the people who died during that year. It's just like it's like I will remember you, and it's just like sad pictures. It's like that's what's happening right now. We just have a slideshow of Sean
Slideshow
on the TV screen.
He's at work. He just shows him at work.
Yeah.
He just shows him being a teacher, doing lesson plans
like
or
now
something.
When I see him, I won't know whether to cry or donate to an animal shelter.
Yeah, you
Get
don't.
all that
Yeah.
Sarah McLachlan stuff mixed up.
It's funny about that at a word show thing, like where people, die and they do the big memoriam reform at the end. But there's always someone they don't like.
Yeah, it's always
Oh, yeah.
it's always the most
There's
obvious
always a
person.
snub,
Yeah.
It's like Bruce Willis wasn't included in the. I mean, like when he dies, Bruce Willis is, I think, still alive as far as I know. Like,
Go ahead and say Britney Spears for this year.
So they're always or it's like it'd be funny if it's like, Lil Nas X isn't with us anymore. Or I don't know. Just,
well, that's really unfortunate that he's actually still with us.
I know.
I don't wish death upon anyone, but that's.
I
don't think that's going to be like a really exponential loss to society.
Like he got famous because he made a song that was on TikTok. That's how that song got famous.
Like if he dies the same year as Bill Gates, people are just going to remember that year. Remember when Lil Nas X died? Did something else happen that year? Someone else died. Who was it? Oh yeah, Bill Gates.
Bill Gates died. And
they're both in hell because obviously Lil Nas X is a bad person, but Bill Gates invented the coronavirus, so
that's a theory for sure. I mean, he is really. It's funny. I know this has probably been said, but it's funny that he created computer viruses for sure, but he also created the coronavirus. Like, he's like, I've already put a virus on everybody's computer. Why not spread it to the actual humans?
It's funny, like when you picture like diabolical characters in the history of time. It's like this big, like manic, crazy looking like bald man, just, like veins popping out of their neck. And actually, like the most evil people in the world is like Bill Gates, like looks like a 87-year-old lesbian woman. It's just like really like effeminate, guy with a sweater, and it's like, oh, I'm Bill Gates.
It's very insidious.
If you look at like the way Hitler's portrayed, especially like South Park stuff like that. Everything you see him in, he looks like he's 5 foot tall, and some diminutive little kid that got beat up in school on.
No offense, Chris, but I think there really is like a short man syndrome type of thing. It's where you have to posture.
Yeah, look at Napoleon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at
conquered half of Europe by the age 40.
Yeah, I mean,
and
look at.
I just want to play Call of Duty.
I mean, never forget the tyranny of Wee Man.
Why do you say no offense to me? I'm 5'9". I'm like normal height. Like,
right,
what are you talking about? I'm shorter than you.
Okay, that's really the only metric that I measure anything by. In comparison to me,
like, I'm 5'3" because I'm tall. You're taller than me. Like, that doesn't make sense. Like
have you seen that meme where it's like
Hitler.
It's like Keanu Reeves, and it's like little Keanu Reeves standing next to him. And it's like there's all kinds of memes about it. I was like, that's how I picture Chris. Just like a miniature, like, oh, come mini me.
They couldn't make that movie now.
Austin Powers?
No,
they shouldn't have made it then.
They made 3 of them.
Yeah, it's like after the first one, it kind of ran its course. It was like.
Well, Beyonce was in one of the movies. Beyonce was in one of those. The second one, the third one.
Gold member.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Beyonce is. I'm not a fan. I mean, obviously there's talent there, but Beyonce has. I don't know. She's like one of those people that just gets on the nerve. You know what I mean? Like Christina Aguilera is another one, where. Obviously, they're just they're like pretty and talented, and people go crazy over them. But when I hear their music, and I just want to, I don't know. I
feel like Christina Aguilera could have done better. Like she could have done something better.
Yeah, it's like when they go to those singing shows, it's almost like It's like the
Retirement.
mega stars that took the retainers out in Vegas. It's like they were just phoning in the rest of their career. They were just cashing a check at that point.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I think I like original Maroon 5, like the first album, but then they just went pop or something. Like, they're.
That's the way I feel about Aerosmith. Like, they at one point in time they were a rock band, and then they, got past.
Well, they got songwriters.
Yeah.
But they really killed the pop scene. I mean, they really did a good job. I mean, if you're talking about pop music.
Do you guys remember? Yeah. I'd never watched American Idol except like the one season that Steven Tyler was on, and he was the most outrageous individual.
Yeah, he was.
Like, he would interrupt like their auditions and just get up there and be like, "Aah!" and like start singing with them in the Steven Tyler thing. And he always dressed like he just came out of like, I don't know, a consignment store. He had like a weird headband wrapped around his head and like just like a really flowery unbuttoned shirt, and would just always interrupt and like hit on like the girls.
Yeah,
you're Steven Tyler. You kind of get like a little bit of a pass on that,
Yeah, if you're a rock star that was coming up in the 70s, there's no Me Too movement.
I just wonder if him and Melissa Rivers or Caitlyn Jenner are the same person. I just
they do have a lot of similarities.
They could be, but going back to the Me Too thing, I mean,
here we go.
Think about the people that would have been canceled. Like, Jerry Lee Lewis married his 14-year-old cousin.
Yeah.
Like, that's not Me Too. That's like Me 5.
That's me.
That's beyond
me. Us. Me.
Yeah, I mean that's beyond like the pale of anything you could comprehend.
But there was no.
These days you get canceled if you like accidentally fart on Twitter or something, and like back then there was marry my 13-year-old cousin. Why not? Or marry the dog.
Elvis supposedly didn't have sex with his wife. What's Lisa Marie or whatever? What's her name?
I think it was Elvira.
Elvira. He didn't have sex with Elvira.
Lisa Marie is the daughter. She didn't have sex with Michael Jackson. They were married.
That's true.
Elvis, Priscilla.
There you go.
Until they were married. Like, she was too young when they first met, and he waited till they were married, even though he's like doing all kinds of other chicks and stuff. Like, that's what I read on Instagram. That doesn't mean it's true, but that's what I read. Like, so it's. But he had a thing for virgins, evidently. That was his thing. So he married her, and I guess I don't know. It's weird.
I mean, I follow the same
I know
philosophy.
you hate Elvis, though.
I do hate Elvis, but his philosophy on life was a solid one, which was virgins and fried peanut butter and banana sandwiches, which really isn't a bad way to go if you want to die when you're 50 on the toilet. But I mean, while you're living, man, that's the only way to live life.
Banana sandwiches and virgins. Yeah.
So I got 4 more years. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, Elvis was a crazy. I mean, if you look at pictures of him, he doesn't look real. Like, he doesn't look real.
No, and Elvis evolved into like, he was this figure when he first came on the scene that, I mean, they banned him from TV from the waist down because his gyrations.
They canceled his lower half.
Yeah, they canceled. They did they Stephen Hawkinged him, or Christopher Reeves. They just took out his whole lower half.
Yeah,
but and then like by the end, he was just this fat blob. I mean, he looked like every Elvis impersonator. Like at the end of being the real Elvis, it's just like, what a sad decline. It's like, dude, quit wearing the rhinestone suits and comes out with the cape, and it's like it all became very sad.
What year did he die? What year did he die?
It's August 16th, 1970 something.
How do you know that?
It's a long. I don't know. I'm just a
tax
toilet. That's
toilet.
That's
toilet
April.
knowledge.
That's April.
Oh, you said August.
August.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm just my brain is a toilet bowl of useless knowledge.
I thought you said you learned that on the toilet. Is what I thought you meant.
Elvis died on the toilet.
Yeah, this is
the relevancy train.
There's
here
a golden
just
thread going through this. But I think,
it all comes back to the toilet.
Who else would be canceled? Every rock star.
Yeah. Oh, every rock. Tommy Lee.
Nobody tries to cancel Tommy Lee. Nobody tried to cancel, what's his name, on 2.5 Men, or whatever his name was.
Charlie Sheen.
Nobody tried to cancel him.
He gave people AIDS on purpose, and he still didn't get canceled.
Yeah, He told everybody on Good Morning America that he did it.
But remember, he had there was maybe I'm correct. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure there was like a porn star that he was just doing, and like knowing he had AIDS or whatever, or HIV or whatever.
HIV.
Yeah, maybe. Was it HIV or full blown AIDS? Does it really matter? Like, I guess it does.
No, it does.
Yeah, it does.
Magic
Magic Johnson has had HIV since 1988 or something like that.
It's telling you that money matters, man.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, money matters. Like, if you're like you got these athletes, they break their arm and they're like, oh, 6 weeks he'll be back. Like because they got.
Yeah, I stubbed my toe when I was 18 and I've been like
hurts.
bedridden ever since.
You get down to the local hospital and they're gonna give you something that doesn't work. If you go to physical therapy, they're gonna here's a couple exercises and you get 6 visits and you're done. Like,
well, and for us, physical therapy around here is like you can't get into them for 6 weeks to begin with.
Yeah, it's like I've been to physical therapy a lot, and it's like the physical therapist he sees you once, and then they have this kid who doesn't even have a degree or know anything, sit there on his cell phone, here, do that exercise.
Executes the care plan.
It's so sketch. Like, it's like if I had someone else do my therapy. Yeah, I'm your therapist, but this is Steve. He's gonna talk to you.
And all the specialists.
And it's like a guy with like a Wendy's headset walks in. How can I help you today, sir? Well, my problems are Biggie size, so I'm going to need the real guy in here.
That's the thing with therapy is like people think that you can really fix people, and but they like it takes years, if you could, but it's really up to you anyway.
I think the main point of therapy, and I'm saying this now because I'm probably at a point in my life where it's beneficial.
Yeah, I've been.
It's like it's beneficial just to get it out to someone, and sometimes you're not in a you can't go to a friend or someone close because maybe you just don't feel comfortable for whatever reason. So you have this therapist, and you have the idea in your head that this person knows what they're doing and they can help you, so you feel comfortable talking to them, even though they're a total stranger in most cases.
Right, they're legally obligated not to tell anybody.
Right. Which they do. They know. It's like, imagine if I talked to a therapist today, she would go home, and they would be like, "You wouldn't believe how fucked up this guy is." Mm-hmm.
like, I've been to therapists, and I went to up in Huntington because I didn't want to go anywhere near. Hey, buddy, your mic is on.
What it is?
Oh man,
your mic's on.
We just concluded the memorial service for you, man. There was a slideshow.
We had a moment of silence for your mic.
Those we lost on Wednesday.
I went to therapy one time, and I decided I was going to have to go to Huntington because I didn't want to. I'm a therapist, so I didn't want to go around here because it's weird, Right. So I went up to Huntington, and it was this old guy, and he was like Sigmund Freud looking chap, He had like. The corduroy jacket with the patches on, the whole deal. And, I mean, he looked like Sigmund Freud, like would. And so I go in there, and I said, I told him my problems. You need to get closer. You can, whatever you need to do. I can adjust it, or I think I missed the judge. You can move stuff or whatever you need to do.
I moved the chair around.
You're going to need to speak into that. Yeah, that's good. I put some weights on that so don't get... No, on the shelf. So
don't pick up the weight.
Don't pick up the weight. So I go into this... place, and this guy's like ancient, and he's talking to me, and I talk to him about my ailments, my mental ailments, and I talk about how I have an alcohol problem and all this other stuff, and the place is called like Angus Day or some kind of weird Greek.
Sounds like a beef factory.
It's called,
AC/DC cover band.
They serve you steak during it. They serve you steak during it, so it's nice. Anyway, so I go in there. And he just talks to me, and then at one point he goes, well, if you're going to do therapy with me, you have to believe in you have to believe in God and the devil. And I go, okay. Like, I had to believe in both those to go to therapy with this guy. So I'm like, okay, I believe in God. And I leave there and I go, do I believe in the devil? So I was up for like the next week thinking about whether I believe in the devil or not. It's like, is there
And then-
really an ominous force?
And then you had to go to a different therapist just to reconcile with.
So I get
Now
off.
I have two conflicts. I'm an alcoholic, and I don't know if I believe in the devil. Like,
So
what?
I did go to another therapist. So then, like, I said, I'm not going with this guy. You can't make me believe in the devil and God. You know, I was like, whatever. So I forgot my sunglasses there, so I had to go back. So I was like, well, I might as well just check out how the second session goes, right? So I go in there, and this guy forgot everything I said to him. It's like it was like deja vu. Like I had the same session that I had before.
Groundhog Day. Huh?
And I was like, I still don't believe in the devil.
Which would be funny
Might
is the
be in.
second time if he introduced like different deities.
Yeah,
Like
right.
you must believe in I don't know.
Shyamalan Khan or something.
Maybe that's what he does. Like maybe he's secretly psychoanalyzing
You must
you.
believe in
And there's
Mistopheles or
Yeah, Zool.
Zool. That'd be better. Yeah, Zool.
Thor. Okay.
He got all Greek on me or something. That's funny. I don't know. Anyway, so then I went to these other therapists. I don't know why I'm going off on the stairs. Went to these other therapists, and it was another place in Huntington. I went up there, and all these guys were like, they all were Skechers, and I was like, I automatically don't trust these guys because they wear Skechers. If you have Skechers, I'm sorry, anybody in the room, but I was a shoe salesman, so I think Skechers were lame. So I was like, I can't trust this guy. He didn't know what he's doing with his life. And so I would go to the bottom of the hill after the session, after talking about how I shouldn't drink anymore, and I would go buy a 6-pack of beer. Like after the session, I was like, "This is all stupid," you know. And, like just, I don't know. And like I had two guys, they were like kind of like doughy guys, real doughy looking. Like you could mold them into bread or something. They weren't very.
Stay puffed, huh?
Yeah, they weren't.
So what I'm hearing is you're blaming the entire Skechers company for your drinking problem.
True. It's true.
Chris, every time he sees a Skechers, he can't help himself. He's like, "Ah!"
It's just like it's.
It's like Chris left the shoe store after seeing a pair of Skechers and went right across to Applebee's, jumped behind the bar, and just opened up the tap and just
Straight line.
Lame footwear. Take this off here at K-Swiss and I really flip out, you know?
Just, yeah.
See, I get that way with kids.
Yeah,
I see kids and I have to do heroin like right then.
No, that's like the Pentecostal shoe. The kids are. They're the Pentecostal lady who wears those shoes.
Oh my gosh.
They were big. Kids were. I mean, that was big.
What's funny is like
Like,
kids.
hey, do you have
Like,
dirty shoes? Here's
kids-
a pair of kids.
kids started out as a children's shoe company, but then they realized they spelled it wrong. So they're just like, shit, we gotta just start making regular looking white shoes.
Oh gosh. You know, Brett Favre is one of the spokespeople for Skechers. Like, I would think that Brett Favre could probably get some better shoes. Like, you know what I mean?
But he kind of farms himself out to like old stuff anyway,
Yeah,
like the
he-
copper fit and all that stuff.
Yeah, he's like
Brett
playing
Favre-
football in the
yeah.
park, and he's got the copper fit on. Or something.
Brett Favre's like, when I have a terrible yeast infection, I grab Monostat 7. And
yeah,
Oh,
Greece,
gosh.
Grecian 5 and stuff. Yeah, it's like
Sorry, Jason. Just redlining a little bit.
oh, I got really excited about Brett Favre.
Well, you have a mic that's I got excited about Brett Favre.
it's almost
He
Thursday.
just stopped playing like last year, right? Like he's that was on 10 years for the team.
Yeah, it's been a while, but he like outlived his welcome. You know, he was like one of those. He did not go the Tom Brady route. Just like Tom Brady's like 45 and he's like still doing it. Like
Yeah.
Brett Favre like hung around way too long.
Yeah, he did. He probably hurting. I'm just
Yeah.
he's wearing a copper fit everything right now.
He's got
wearing,
those
When he was-
Skechers with the comfort soles. And
Yeah,
the,
As soon as he ended up
with
like
the
Minnesota, and he
comfort
was getting
soles.
smashed like every
Yeah.
other down. Man, they were.
If you do that, if you play football, you have to be doing drugs.
if your name's Brett,
Like, you know what I
if your
mean?
name's Brett, you have to be.
Yeah,
Like, those guys get smashed up, dude. Like,
yeah.
how are they not on drugs?
Dude, I know, especially when in the wintertime when it's cold. Like, my fingers been smashed in the wintertime before. And you just got to know in a football game, it's going to get smashed all the
stepping on you.
time. They're stepping,
Yeah.
biting. Yeah, it would be intense.
That's like the wide receivers because it's such a passing game now. You know, and they run all these crossing patterns. Man, if you take a set of shoulder pads into ribs, you know, and those guys got small frames. I mean, my shadow weighs more than they do.
Dude,
Yeah.
And,
I went to an NFL game and I saw the Eagles and the Bengals, and there was I think it was Zach Ertz who plays for the Eagles. Huge dude, man. before the game, he was just getting amped up, and he was just railing his shoulder into the field goal post and tore the padding off the bottom of the field goal post. It's like these guys are just massive.
Out, huh?
And then like Nelson Aguilar, who's a wide receiver, walks by, and his waist is this like it looked like this microphone stand.
Yeah.
And like this guy, like a guy this size, tackles a guy this size.
Yeah.
How does he not kill him?
Right.
Like 15 times a game. Like how does he not die right there? I don't know. It's just like these guys are incredible athletes.
It's funny how they're like, the game's getting too rough, you know, and they're like, people were talking about like the brain trauma and all that stuff. Like I know, like, but these people are getting paid millions of dollars.
Well, think about it. The 19 Twins had the freaking leather helmets.
Yeah.
You know what kind of protection? Not even, you know, maybe not even leather.
No, they
maybe
were-
pleather helmets.
They were like just leather
Well, I
helmets.
think it's funny, like the rules are so arbitrary. Like you can tackle a guy and spike his head into the ground, but if you get up and like ooh, give a thumbs up, it's like, oh wait, that's out of line. You get a penalty for that. Like,
Yeah.
Unsportsmanlike conduct. It's like, dude, I just drove this guy's head into the ground.
Yeah.
Like, that's
Pile
not a penalty. Like that's cool, but you know.
And then you got like sports like not baseball. Sorry, you got sports like basketball and soccer, where everybody just pretends they got
Football.
hit. They pretend they got hit. Football. They pretend they got hit. That's
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah, flopping is.
Now
Yeah.
you know though, bro. It does hurt. Even if you get kicked in the shins playing soccer and you got shin pads, it still hurts.
Oh,
dude.
yeah.
I wouldn't know because I'm an American, so you European sissy boys can keep the old soccer.
Like I know that my shins are not. They're not right to this day. Like they're messed. I mean,
I know. Look at
Well,
him,
that's
man.
this is from a different
You
thing.
can't grow hair on it. Man.
yeah, I mean, it does
So
hurt, but
your nickname playing when you played soccer was Gale.
Gale. Oh God. You know, I almost said Gale. You know, Pele was.
He just died, by the way.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
like 2 months back
Yeah,
or
2
something.
months back. I didn't know he was even still alive.
He got
Yeah,
paid
I thought he was
to
just-
rest.
Very nice. Well
I love
played.
Pele. Like he was pro when he was 14.
Yeah.
He won. How many World Cups did he win? I don't know. Like let's say 6. I don't know. We can fact check later. But he 17. Like he won a lot. Like but he was
Good
like
run.
14, like 15 or 16 when he won his first World Cup. And World Cups only what every 4
Every
years?
4.
Yeah. So it's hard. It's like winning the Olympics. Like it's hardcore. I
Yeah,
mean,
but man, soccer was different then.
I guess it was. I don't know. He had extra bones in his feet. Pele did, supposedly.
And extra muscles in his kneecaps.
His shins.
His shins, the extra muscles in his shins. But he was amazing. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how we're going to go down the soccer trail. Is going to be a super popular conversation.
Yeah, I'll be
Hey, people are
quiet
tuning
until
out
y'all
now.
get pissed.
They're like,
It's
what the
it's not-
fuck is this? It's
And
America.
then you got hockey where they're still allowed to fight. Like they could be, they kind of banned fighting in hockey, and then they brought it back. They're like, wait a minute, no one's
Yeah.
coming to these games, so that they brought it back.
Oh,
That's
that's
the only reason I would ever go to a hockey game is just to see.
Hockey's really interesting to watch. I love it. I mean, personally, but I mean, I get why people wouldn't like
It's
it.
like visually, stimulating because they're
Mhm.
always moving. But it's
Yeah.
like I don't get it. Like we're like, oh, he had scored like 2 points on that, but it's like, wait, I thought you could only score a point by hitting the thing into the net.
It's like basketball. If you have an assist, you get a point.
No, that's not how it works.
you get a stat stuffer.
You get a
basically.
stat stuffer.
But it's not a point. It's like NASCAR. How do you get points? You drive around in a circle. If you're the first guy that gets there, you win.
I know,
How
but
do
you get points if you get a certain place.
Or if you lead a lap, you get 5 points.
You
That's
do?
what it used to be. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
But like, what do they do with it? Can they cash in the points?
We found our
It's
NASCAR
like-
expert.
No, no. I haven't
I would
watched
like
the
to
race
cash
in
in my
years.
points for
man.
this season, which they have a NASCAR store where you
Yeah.
go. There's a 20,
Yeah.
20
I'm gonna get me a
shelf,
Skull
50
Bandits
shelf.
jacket
You
and some
get out.
elite
It's
fighting
like
boots.
Daddyland,
I had this one therapist was one time, and he was I've been to a lot of therapists, and he had the guy basically had overalls on when I went in.
I mean, basically.
Well, okay,
They were
they were on his lap. He didn't have them on. They were on his lap.
That, bro.
They were on his lap. He wasn't wearing them.
They were folded neatly.
They're folded neatly on the desk. And so I'm talking to this guy about my problems again, and
Where do you find these guys, bro?
I was on a journey. You know what I mean? I went from
Through the phone
Sigmund
book?
Freud to Billy Bob.
I just need to create the Angie's list for local therapy.
Yeah.
Obviously, he's been to every one.
And so this guy, during it, he's like just talking to me, and I guess he's trying to relate to me or something. But he was a big dude, like big, like his BMI was high, you know. And he starts talking to me about what he buys at Speedway, and he starts telling me the best way to get the most Speedway points. Like during the session, he's like, man, if you buy 7 Mountain Dews, you only get this many. If you buy 9 Mountain Dews, you get twice the points.
And you just get those 2 more.
You just get those 2 more. And he was acting like he found the Ark of the Covenant when he found this out or something.
Holy Grail. Huh?
Yeah, and I was like, I don't know. Then I requested another guy, but see, I thought his name was another name. So I said, I don't want that guy anymore. I want John. And they go, okay. So they sent me back I said, okay, we got your new therapist. And it was him again. So I didn't know his name. So I had to go back in and say, how'd your speed points going? How many you got speedway points? You know, how many speedway points you got? But it was such a mess. Anyway, sorry, it just made me think of that.
Do you know how the Speedway point system works? Like, is it a use it or lose it thing? Because I don't know that I've ever used Speedway points for anything.
Well, you have to use the card.
Probably have I do. But so
You use the card every time.
900,000 speed. I could probably buy.
You could probably
You
buy
can
it.
retire, bro.
You could probably buy a Speedway.
And I went and I bought 8,700 payday bars. That's all I could get.
Paydays all around, everybody.
Paydays, everybody. It's payday, people.
All
Sorry.
the homeless people have diabetes because that's all I could give them.
A payday's,
Red Bulls too.
Oh yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
A payday's an old man's candy bar, don't you guys think?
Yeah, I mean,
You got your nuts, got your caramel.
I'm
Yeah.
still a Reese Cup guy though, you know. But
You're young. You're vibrant. You're just you got Reese cups in your
You're
blood.
not, payday yet.
Can we
Yeah,
talk
it's-
about another? Going back to Speedway.
This is important.
sorry about the boom bump.
Don't worry, you got lots
size
of books there
system
holding that down.
Where it's like you have a 16-ounce cup and then you have like a 20-ounce cup.
Okay.
And then like a 32-ounce cup and then like all the way up to like 7-gallon
70.
cup. But they're all 69 cents.
Are they really?
Well, yeah, they're like the same price. Like, why would you get the 16-ouncer when you could get the diabetic 55-gallon drum of
Yeah.
Dew Freeze or whatever it is?
Ooh, Mountain Dew Freeze is good. I'm not.
They are good, but I don't know. It's just like it's such a scam.
It is how's that a
Yeah.
scam?
McDonald's is the same way. All
Yeah.
the drinks are the same price.
This is like 2 liters cost the same as a 20 ounce. You know, same.
They do?
Pretty much. I mean, pretty similar.
I think Joe Biden really needs to start addressing the,
Joe Biden's got to
drink-
get down.
the drink inequality.
But then there was New York. It wasn't Cuomo. Who's before him? Giuliani?
No. Shart.
That's-
Bloomberg.
Shark.
Yeah, Bloomberg banned the soda. He had the soda restriction.
Yeah, and he said you weren't allowed to buy more than 32 ounces of pop at a time. What is our government doing? Like,
Yeah.
people are buying fifths of vodka right next to that.
You can't buy 32 ounce, but you can buy 2 16 ounces. Which, check me over here, teacher, if I do my math correctly.
Me.
That's
My
like
fingers.
some states, what you can buy at a drive-through window compared to other states is crazy too. When you think of the disparity there, it's like, well, alcohol, for example. You know, it's like around here, you can go through a drive-through window, which is, with the stigma of DUIs and stuff like that, you wouldn't think would be as big of a thing. But then you go to more southern states, and and they're like, no, you have to, or like Pennsylvania, you have to go to like a distributor or something like a package store.
An
what they call it.
ABC.
Yeah.
Or like.
Yeah. There's just like a big disparity on, that's just one
They think
example.
that if they think that if you're not in your car when you buy it, you won't drink it in your car.
Yeah.
That isn't-
Right.
I'll tell you that from personally, that is not true. That is not true. I mean,
It's the same way with prostitutes, like I always get the lady home.
Yeah.
drive-through prostitutes, I tell you.
Yeah.
No, you don't drive through, but you don't do them in your car. That's not classy at all. You get back to the Winchester Inn.
Maybe if you got a Lincoln Navigator or something, it'd be all right. But
Yeah, depends on what kind of car you got.
I'm not in that club.
Hey, Chris, I think we have a special guest that's here. Can I go?
Yeah,
I don't know if.
yeah, you can go. Yeah,
Okay. Excuse me.
okay. Go get the special guest. I wonder who it is.
Ninja.
It's a
Exercise
ninja.
thing.
Is it the captain?
Yeah, oh gosh, what if you changed into the caffeine? I thought about that. I was like, we can't even talk about that. So, Sean, what have you been doing?
Way to bury the lead, man.
Man, I've been doing, bro. I've been doing.
Am I the second line there? I'm just
Yeah.
so I don't.
Am I on?
Yeah. Give me some talk.
Talk. Yeah.
Yeah, I need to give you more volume of it. Okay. It's okay. We can keep this stuff in. It doesn't matter. I mean, if then should we break the third wall? No, this is a podcast.
I mean, people are listening to us right now.
1,
2, 3 at the moment.
3 at the moment. There is a logistic I've worked out. I've already researched it.
And then
So you have the mask that is wool.
Yes.
Okay. Or do you Prince?
is he testifying or something? How old are you? True or false? Yes.
Yes.
It's made out of wool.
Yeah. I'm hoping I'm getting you. How's that going to work in the summer for you? I don't think you're going to get another one.
I'll shave it down.
I've noticed, like, I have this guy that's I call him my.
I like how you said noticed. You said noticed.
Noticed.
Like you're from
noticed.
Southern Kentucky.
Noticed. that
Down the
people
road.
People are stopping to wear their masks a little bit. Like
Yeah,
I've noticed that people are like,
As the
Get
shots
that.
are getting out there, yeah.
yeah, this was my mentor last night, and I went out to Moe's with him, and he doesn't believe in wearing a mask. He's 70. So I walk in, and I have a mask on. Everybody else has got a mask on, and he's like, I'm not wearing one. So it's like I walked in with somebody with their pants down. You know, it's like I feel like, sorry, he just hangs it out there sometimes. Sorry,
Yeah,
it's just,
yeah.
you know, when he walks in, and I'm like feeling awkward. Like that's strange that someone doesn't have a mask on with me, and I'm like, yeah, I guess I'm with him. I guess, like it's I don't know. It's gonna be weird. I think. Like in Asia, they've worn masks forever, but is that because of smog or disease? Like, because they have really bad.
I don't think
pollution
masks will go away. I think even when they're not mandated, people will still choose to wear them, especially during flu season.
Yeah, I think people will be more.
Flu. I mean, the
aware.
flu was cut back a lot.
Yeah, because
There was a lot, and that's due to the fact that we were, social distancing and wearing masks.
I don't know, when I was in the hospital, yeah, and this was the time of year you were getting hammered with flu A and flu B.
Yes.
And it's, those guys, it's bad enough with COVID.
Right.
But nobody has antibodies yet. So that's been a little bit of a hard hitter. But
Yeah.
Come on in, buddy.
What's up, man?
Here, we'll get you a mic too. Here. You guys talk.
Jesus Christ. What's up? How are y'all doing?
All right.
how's it
all
going?
What did I miss? Which therapist did Chris talk about while I was gone? You've been
right. Frank the Vampire.
Vampire, yeah, that's a good one.
You're not gonna get the best seat, but all right. I don't know if I have a mic cord.
I'm Jonah Hill.
I've been talking about this forever, man. I didn't know you were doing it.
Yeah, we just started doing
Fat Jonah Hill,
Oh yeah,
mediary Jonah Hill.
Or-
Have another mic.
or the bearded hippie Jonah Hill. That one too. It's like that's a new one hitting the scene.
Seth Rogen is another one. Which version of Seth do you like?
Seth Rogen has his own weed company now.
He smokes weed?
That's all the man talks about is his weed company. Which,
I mean,
I don't judge, but I would never do such an impure thing.
oh yeah, right. Me
Tyson
either.
too, man. Mike Tyson's got the farm.
With the THC has really calmed me down. I feel very relaxed when I participate in excruciating skills of smoking. Sometimes I like to call them joints. But then sometimes I get mad and I beat the guy's face for calling me an apple woman. But I've relaxed a lot lately. I've been doing yoga and smoking THC.
Getting the other voices to drop.
Mediocre Mike Tyson. I mean, not my best work.
Yeah.
I
Well,
almost went into my. Yeah, I can kind of do a Seth Rogen a little bit, but I was just
That was
kind of.
almost perfect.
yeah.
That was great.
Wow, I thought he was here.
There's a guy I work with sounds just like him.
Yeah, it was like a Seth Rogen / Alex Jones. Like, the globalists are coming for my weed company, folks. Let me tell you.
Yeah, it's who else you do voice with?
I mean, I don't know. I did it. Like, what is this? Like, freaking Milton Berle comedy?
Oh, it's just
Robert De
this
Niro?
time killer to help
Robert De Niro.
Chris get
Yeah,
the
Robert
next.
De Niro is more of a facial thing. Right? My nipple's great. Can you book me?
I was like, I used to pretty good Al Pacino. It was like, but
Come on, Gary. Let's hear it.
let me wet the whistle real quick, and we'll give it a shot. But
I like when people say they can do an impersonation, and they can't do an
yeah, it's
impersonation.
horrible. Yeah. So this might be what I'm reduced to here in just a second. It's like, but like on Cinnamon Woman, my friend here, Charlie, he's a lovely dancer. Anyway, if I probably give a couple reps, it would
That was
dial
good.
it in a little bit.
Good. It was you, Fredo. It broke my heart. That was
Yeah, classic moment. Yeah. Good movie.
You guys are killing the game in here, I tell you. This is a great setup, man.
We need to start like a Twitter or Instagram page called Owl Pacino. It's just an owl, and he looks like Al Pacino and does all the famous quotes.
You did one called Bernie Sanders' cat for a while.
Yeah, I had a page called Bernie Sanders' cat for a while, and it was just jokes about redistribution of wealth and sniffing people's buttholes. Very elementary.
Very woke cat.
You had when MySpace was out, you had a lot of. We can't talk about some of them because
Yeah, we can't talk about it. Yeah, I don't.
But we can talk about. Can we talk about Judoff?
I had MySpace. This is back in the day. It was called Judoff,
Dude, thanks,
the,
man.
the Jewish reindeer.
Put me in on this.
And it was a picture of a reindeer, and he had like one picture he had a yarmulke on, and I don't know. It was ridiculous. It had like tons and tons of like I don't know, not followers, whatever they were back then, and
Whatever they were.
it was like I would just make really borderline anti-Semitic jokes via a imaginary Jewish reindeer that I created, and that was back in 2006 when you couldn't get canceled for that kind of thing. But it was funny. It was good comedy. Judoff.
I like it. A good name,
Bring it back.
Judoff. Did you have a song with it?
I don't think we had a Judoff song.
Okay.
Probably just your
Everybody
standard.
pause for 2 seconds. Okay, we're back. See if test that mic.
Test.
Equals.
Testicles.
We didn't get that. Hold on a second. Yeah, I'm just joking. I think we're good. Say it again.
Test. Test.
I think we're good.
1, 2.
I think we
1,
are. I'm not
2.
sure.
You just have me pretend like it's hooked up, and then nobody can just cut me out later. Make me feel important.
the little brother you give the controller to.
Yeah.
That's not plugged in.
Yeah.
I want to kill the hookers on Grand Theft Auto.
I don't think you're on here. Everybody else talk. Hey, hello.
Hello.
Mitch.
Hello.
Now back
Hello.
Pedro
Yeah.
Bourbon.
Hello.
Pedro.
Hello.
Mickey Morandini.
I miss that announcer, Mickey Morandini. He was
Gary,
good.
let's see so many 80s and 90s random baseball players we can come up with.
Oh, okay. You first. We'll trade.
Gary Gaetti.
Let's see. Do Reds players count? Like if they're obscure,
I mean, yeah.
like Sal Butera.
Ooh, Eddie Taubensee.
Oh wow.
What are you all doing?
Just trading off
Hello.
baseball players to keep the audio open.
I don't have any. I'm not
Chris
getting any.
Sabo.
audio from anybody.
Oh,
Sabo.
well done.
Classic.
Yeah.
This is a baseball
Who's
podcast.
Eddie Milner.
I'm in the wrong room.
Eddie Milner.
Chili Davis.
Very nice. Wow. Candy Maldonado.
How about let's see.
The dishwasher Johnson.
Chili Davis is a real player.
Mike
The refrigerator Perry. That's a football
Yeah,
player.
it was. Yeah.
Back to old Dodgers catch. Nice.
Of all the nicknames, you'd be called refrigerator.
Okay.
But he lost
That's
weight
not
though.
obscure, though. He's a Hall of Famer. I found
Yeah, I remember that. That was awesome. I had
I
him.
was like Vince Coleman,
Ooh, Gary Carter.
Ozzy.
Smith or Gian?
Oh, wow. Touche. Yeah, let's go with Wizard.
Osborne.
Yeah, well, very nice. Very nice.
Okay. How about dang it, man. Let's see. Who?
Okay, we'll take a break.
Who? Trying to think. Eddie Murray. What's that
Oh,
easy?
nice.
Okay, we gotta pause the podcast for a minute because you guys gotta move your car real
We're
quick.
just talking about baseball players.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to chop some of that, I'm sure. But that kind of reminds me of, like in the movie Ted, where they're putting ski on the end of all these names. Like
Yeah.
it was like Teddy Bruschi, Martina Navratilewski. No, you can't do that.
Yeah, there's etiquette to nicknames. You can't just, you can't just ski everything. Which I guess was the original point you made.
Give us some mic check, Sean. I don't see any.
Yo.
I don't see as much movement as there once was. Now, yeah, you're bumping.
Yeah.
We might need to heat up our mics when he gets back. He can always cut that.
Are you on too?
Charlie, Bravo, Delta, Echo. A little bit. I don't know.
I don't
Have to get the man to look at it.
Whoa.
What's
Hello?
it say? Jamie, pull that up.
Yo,
Sean's on.
yo.
Sean's on.
Oh, you went
Gary's
too
on.
far back.
Gary, are you talking? I'm gonna give you guys a little tip of microphones to talk into them. Pooping. How about you? You got it?
Test. Pickles. Hello.
Want to hear a really cool sound?
Most annoying sound in the world. This is an ASMR podcast.
For some reason, you're not coming up. I don't know why.
No.
Had that one little bump there.
You're on 4. Right.
Hello.
Except my got a gain on it.
Yeah.
I mean, on the. So like got a volume on the mic itself.
It's called the How to Set Up a Podcast podcast. It's real meta. It's real meta podcast. That's what it is. Am I coming through? Hello? Okay, I'm there.
Ooh, Gary.
Jason Chin, what you got?
Mike Mordecai.
Oh wow, that's a good one. The Hebrew Hammer.
Yeah, you are now. You are now.
7.
Yeah. Audio 7. Hey, Jason, are you alive?
Yep, I'm right here. Right chunder.
Squeaking up a little bit.
Ooh.
We're not running with $400 podcast mics here. Okay. Keep going, guys. Sean, you know baseball, don't you?
A little bit.
Most obscure player name.
Jose Canseco.
I used to get. That's one of the celebrity lookalikes I used to get back in the
I can
day.
see that.
Yeah,
Back.
Jose Canseco was a
I'd say
high
you
priest
still got
in
it
the Church
now.
of Satan.
Yeah. Oh, you mean Josie Canseco?
I was a big Darryl Strawberry fan.
Oh yeah.
Dude, he had posters. He had a poster that
That.
said, strawberry fields are forever. It showed there was
really?
strawberry in a strawberry field with a
That
This baseball
86
bat.
team, they were killer though.
yeah. With, he had everybody on coke then, so
Yeah.
that was good.
That's what I'm saying.
There's a Darryl Strawberry dispute between the '86 Mets and the '98 Yankees, which there's a conversation of who was the best team of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Those two teams come to the top of the list. Darryl Strawberry was on both of them. Strawberry maintains that the '86 Mets were the best team. But I would have to hard disagree.
And why is that?
Why?
86 minutes
The
versus
98 Yankees were the best team ever.
Oh God, here we go.
And you were coming of age then. You were what, 5?
98, I was 11.
11, yeah. Yeah.
It's kind of like a band you liked when you were younger, and you realized that you were just young and you didn't know that they weren't cool.
That Mets team, though, I mean, they had,
You know what I mean?
Yes, Chris, we know you left Third Eye Blind. It's fine.
I really do
Jason
like,
Mraz.
I do really do like Third
There's
Eye
a
Blind.
Kane poster here somewhere.
I do like Third Eye Blind. Third Eye Blind's great. What are you guys talking about?
Chris, just step out from the ledge, my friend. I would understand.
They play. I heard them play. That sounds so stupid when I didn't say that. I heard them play from far away once.
It's funny.
That sounds stupid.
Chris,
Wow, dude, I'm so jealous right now.
Chris was in a band called Brown Eye
He
Blind.
saw Third Eye Blind.
Oh gosh, Brown Eye Blind.
did they play on
do,
Thursdays?
do, 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 do.
First gig was at the Stonewall.
We're not going to go into the Stonewall. I think that's a good
Back to being canceled here.
Yeah.
Had one show, got canceled.
This is one we
We're
did
not
at the
live. You guys
Stonewall.
know that.
Yeah.
That's funny.
We're live with Jesus.
We are. We are.
You can hear us right now.
Touche.
So, if you guys were gonna, I'm thinking of a
Oh, is
question
this a
here.
marry one, kill one type of thing? Is this
No,
where we're
no.
okay, good?
I could think of a kill one. My Mary F. kill would be all the same person. At this point. So,
Like all at the same time, or
in sequence.
sequence? What you have to killing, you're pretty much done with the
Yeah.
whole project. I
I
mean,
mean, not really. You could F them after you kill them.
If you're,
Technically.
if you could. I mean,
Yeah.
I think there's 7 states.
I think that's
where you can
illegal in
marry a
some
dead
states.
person. Maybe you could do the marry afterwards on it.
I think in Louisiana you can marry a dead person
could
If you
vote.
respect them.
if you respect them, if you show them respect.
You know, Louisiana, like, you're not legally married unless if you step on a crawfish after your ceremony. It's like Jewish people with the glass. It's like, you have to step on a crawfish.
I thought that was Greek people that step on glass. Is that Jewish
Jews
people?
do
Yeah,
too.
Jewish too.
too.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, because
There's a Haitian.
Why do you hate Jews, Sean?
I don't hate you, man.
Instead of a yarmulke, you have to wear a Tractor Supply hat.
With a fishing hook.
yeah,
There's a Haitian custom where you're not the second marriage is said to be cursed, right? So what they'll do is they'll, instead of marrying their second person, they'll marry a tree, and then they'll chop down the tree, and then they'll marry the next person.
oh, so a pseudo second marriage, if you will.
I mean, they have to
We all
have
know
sex
it's
with
like
the
the
tree.
13th floor in a hotel. Like, we all know the truth.
Yeah.
Hey, just here goes. She was a great piece of ash.
Ash. Oh, great piece of ash.
When our
That's
relationship
good.
was over, I felt like I needed to branch out.
Okay.
Stop growing. I really need to put my roots down.
Oh my God! You just keep
I
going.
really hate to leave.
I'm
Oh.
The nest became empty.
She was nuts
There's nuts there. There's somewhere.
somewhere.
Take a bow.
I came home and I caught her with a squirrel.
I actually married somebody one time, and I was super surprised about how easy it was to get like the marriage license.
Mhm.
Like all I did was send in $50 into the state of Ohio and declare like I was a part of the Church of the Latter-day Dude. Perform this amazing ceremony, and the people's priest was there, and so it was super awkward.
You're like, oh, you're so unlegit.
Yeah, I actually said that. I was like, yeah, it's this easy to perform a marriage. I'm not a priest, but here we go.
How does the priest has got to be like a really big man to go to the ceremony he got snubbed for.
Yeah.
It's like, sorry, Father Jenkins. Like we invited some
We picked-
asshole to come and
Yeah,
be
we
married.
picked this-
It was their lifelong priest. So awkward.
Wonder what he did.
You are Italian though. So
Yeah,
it's-
true.
Yeah.
You're basically a priest.
You had to pay $50.
Yeah, state of Ohio.
In Kentucky, you don't have to pay $50.
Really?
Did you have to pay it, or did they? Pay
I
it?
didn't. Have,
Back when I got married in Ohio, it was 35. That's
$35.
to the top of the mountain a little bit. Yeah.
I married you on my porch.
Yep.
And they had these Gary wrote these vows, and one of the promises that they wouldn't mention Christian Leitner, shooting that shot against Kentucky. Like, that was one of the. And I'm reading it, and I'm like, and they wrote, "Yes, we promise we won't do it." And then they dubbed each other with lightsabers at the end. It was
Wait,
crazy.
why wasn't I invited to this?
It was crazy.
It was on May 4th. It was a Friday, so we
May the 4th be with
and
you.
and I punched up her vows without her knowing it. So he starts reading out. So do you agree that sumo wrestlers are just really misunderstood?
Like, it was
Just a bunch of random stuff.
It was crazy. I read it beforehand. I was like, okay, I'll do it.
If you guys had to pick like a wedding vow,
Okay.
your partner had to abide by it.
Okay.
Like the Christian Leitner thing, what would it be? Like, you can't mention this, you can't say this.
I'd get in trouble here. But okay. What would it be?
Let's be real. Your wife's not going to listen to this.
She listened to the other one. She listened to the other one a little bit, and I was like, yeah, you don't want to listen to the rest of it because there's some stuff I was like, I don't want her to hear that. And she kept saying I cussed on the last one. I was like, I didn't cuss. Sean did, but I mean, no, who cares? We can cuss. Whatever. What wedding vow would I want?
Yeah. What's your you can't do it.
So you got something in mind for this? I mean, give us
I'm thinking.
Give us a lead here.
I would. I mean, to be serious, not be funny. I would say I have to be serious. Okay.
No, you don't have to be serious.
I would.
You mean more like along the lines?
I would
of
like to
something
buffer
petty
her
like
expectations for me. Like to buffer. Like, I'm not gonna do. I don't know. I'm not gonna assume that I know what she's thinking. Type stuff. That's like the biggest part of marriage.
I was just looking for I don't know.
Don't try to guess what I'm thinking. That's my.
I think women underestimate us a lot. It's like they really think we're way more complex than we are.
Oh no, yeah, we're not. Yeah, that's true.
It's like,
We're kind of.
I don't think they think we're complex at all.
Dude, I do.
Really? Why?
Yeah, I think
Okay,
they think.
okay.
I think women think we're pretty simple-minded more than anything.
Like, they think about one thing.
Sex.
It's really
No.
not
You know how
totally
many
true.
conversations I've had where it's been like, listen, I'm really not as smart as you think I am. You have to tell me what you want from me. You have to tell me how you feel. You have to tell me what you don't like.
Yeah, but that doesn't do with intelligence. That's just being intuitive more so. It's like.
But it's a pretty common
It's
problem.
the same thing. I mean, intuition is a part of your, I don't know.
Well, it is a part of the intelligence for sure. But yeah, I mean, you can't read her mind, so for sure, communication definitely would help. But I still assume that women underestimate us, from my experience.
I think we're
It depends.
We're like waffles.
And it's pretty generalized.
We're like waffles. We're very compartmentalized. We can focus on this. We can something bad can happen here. We can go over here and actually get something done. Like, men can do that. Women are like spaghetti. Like, they're all interlaced and everything's.
No, I've seen programs
hot.
like they can,
Sounds hot.
like they are
Women are like
way better at
noodles, man.
multitasking, and we're like building a Ranger boat one thing at a time. That's just.
Yeah. We seem to be very mono-focused.
What was
kinda.
that? There was an old book about it. I forget the name of it, but like a woman's mind flows like a river, and then for a guy, they have like the nothing box where they can think about absolutely nothing.
Yeah, we do.
Like,
Have
so what
that.
are you thinking about? Nothing. Oh, I know you're thinking about something. Like,
Yes,
no,
we-
I'm really thinking about nothing.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like that meme with the guy in the bed and he's turned over to the other side.
Oh yeah,
The
yeah.
girl's
yeah,
like, I
yeah.
bet he's thinking about this.
Yeah.
And it's like, and the guy's like thinking about like, if I step on this crack, I'll die. like that's me. Like I step over sidewalk cracks and I'm just like a total idiot. Like nothing.
You
bad's
do
gonna
that?
happen. Yes, I do that.
Huh.
If you don't do that, you lie. Like
I don't think about the cracks, man.
I think. I've been your friend for 20 years. You think about cracks. Oh, God.
One time, this girl asked me. She goes, "What are you thinking?" And we were laying there. This is like a long time ago. And I go, I'm thinking about whether I could hook both of my guitar cabinets into my guitar head. Like, I was thinking about something like guitar
Gear
tech.
stuff.
And she goes, and she's okay. And it was just, I think it ruined our relationship. I'm not sure. I think it might have been a catalyst for the downfall.
My favorite quote from one of Chris's ex relationships
Uh-huh.
was he had a girlfriend that told him that she hoped the plane depressurized,
Yeah,
so
or-
it would crash.
yeah,
and he would die. Like,
Oh,
when he was
yeah.
on an airplane.
Yeah, it happened. That happened. That was we I decided not to be with her after that.
Update: the plane didn't crash, right?
No,
We're still alive.
we were on our way to. We were going to go to Italy, and I was going to propose to her in Italy. I had the ring.
How original.
I know, on a gondola, kind of thing.
A guy named Giuseppe, like down with the ukulele.
I mean, it was a perfect plan, and the ring cost me way more than I mean, I couldn't afford it now. I don't think it was more than in like $3,500 or something. It's like that's a lot of that's pretty expensive for a preacher, So we had to go rent a car to go to the airport to get on the plane to go to Italy. Well, I wouldn't let her drive it because she was a little younger, so she couldn't really drive it. And we were young, and so I wouldn't let her drive the car. She got pissed. She maybe dropped her off in the middle of Winchester Avenue, and I was like, I guess I'm just leaving her here. I was like, I don't know, whatever. So she got mad because I wouldn't let her drive the rental car. So on the way, she said, "You're ridiculous. I hope you die in a plane crash on the way." Because I said, "You're not going to Italy with me. I'm going alone." That's what I told her. She goes, "I hope you die in a plane crash on the way over." And so after that, I didn't bring the ring with me, and I went to Italy with her. And the whole time, I'm like, this person's crazy,
Yeah.
And it just went. I mean, but it was like one of the moments I was like, I got you. It's
Red
like you
flag.
decide,
I mean,
decide that moment, but you don't break up with them until later.
But you were ready to propose to her,
Blind
right?
spot.
Yeah, it was just so
And, but what? Just that one moment.
it was a series of.
There was lots of.
There was like she
Okay.
stole my car twice.
So wait, so you went through all that, and you were still going to propose to her?
No, this was after that. I took I mean, there was like a moment I was like, I didn't propose to her. Like, I bought a ring and everything, and then I just was like, something seems wrong. If someone's gonna say they want me to die in a plane crash, I just felt like.
It's very specific, It's like
I mean, I did tell her I wasn't gonna take her to Italy with me,
Yeah.
I mean, I did say that, but she was very volatile. Like, is what it was, and like she, it was very volatile relationship. I mean, it was very up and down. Like, she loved me one second, and the next thing she hated me. I was the worst person. It was a very borderline personality disorders, which it was. And I didn't know what that was then, but that's what it was. It was very
man. Dude, we have
Yeah.
PhDs
and borderline personality
Yes.
disorder. Yeah. And this is not to talk about it. Maybe I'm sure that person's probably fine now, but.
Did anyone try to warn you? Like, was Jason like, "Hey
Me?
man, this girl's a bitch"? Like,
Yeah, I mean, there was a time like when she ended up going to like Australia, and I was gonna try to stay with her and stuff. She was gonna go stray for like 6 months or something like that, and I was like, she did wild stuff too, and it's after we went to Italy, and
I feel like if you guys were just in the continental U.S., maybe things could have worked
if
out.
we if we just stayed in the States, so she went to Australia, and then I was gonna stay with her, and I was like, but then. I was gonna. Jason and I got this opportunity to go down this recording studio in Nashville, and it was the same studio that Butterfly Kisses was recorded in. Butterfly
What an
Kisses,
honor.
whatever that song is, you know what I'm talking about. And so we're
Bob
pumped.
Carlisle. I think
Yeah,
his
Bob
name is.
Carlisle. Yeah,
He had the guy
Wow.
with the Grammy Award hanging on his wall
And-
from that song.
I got the album.
Sean going to the top of the mountain on that one. Nice job. Nice pull. I would never remember that name. It's in my
yeah.
mind.
It was a big Christian hit. So we went. We went to the.
Really disappointed in his follow-up album. It's like Caterpillar butt sex. Bob really went to a dark place.
He did.
after
He
that.
did start drinking,
Yeah.
and so we.
slug hugs.
His shows didn't knock down nearly as much at the collection plate after that.
No.
Yeah.
And so we go down to this studio, and our friend was recording this album, and we were gonna get to play on it, and Jason got to play on like all of it, and he let me play like one part because he didn't think I was good enough, I guess, at guitar. And from what I remember, like I got to play like 3 chords. He's like, "Okay, that's good, dude. I'm glad you brought your equipment here. It's great." It's stupid, But he bought us commemorative hats for the occasion. Like it didn't say like Butterfly Kisses on or anything. He
Was that the studio that I don't mean to cut you off?
It's
but
fine.
the studio that you played at, was that their main artist? Was Bob
No,
Carlisle?
this guy also worked with the Ghetto Boys. all kinds of like Rascal Flatts, Tim, like all these.
Oh, I didn't know that. Huh?
Yeah.
Why am I
Okay.
using Bob
Yeah,
Carlisle?
yeah, I wouldn't.
And what's
What am I bragging
Premature
about?
So
That's
it's
what you wanna
like
agree
Bob
with.
Carlisle and Busher Bill. In the
Bushwick
okay.
Bill. He had a picture with Bushwick Bill on the thing. And Bushwick Bill, this guy informed us, was a gospel music expert, man. He knew like all of these Southern gospel artists and like was like all about it.
Gaither vocal band.
Yeah. And they recorded all these people. And I was 19, and when I went down there, we recorded. The guy offered me a job, basically, more or less. He's like, "You come down here, I'll put you to work." And I was like, "No, man, I can't." This was in January, and I was like, "Man, I got this girl at home, and da." So I basically turned down a free ride to Nashville, and 2 months later, the girl dumped me, and I, of course, I've been kicking myself ever since. Not that I couldn't have ever recovered from that, but I was like, man, I had this opportunity, and like, you look back and you think about things. It's like, wow, it's like the end of Dumb and Dumber when they don't go with the tropical kiss girls or whatever. I was like, we're looking for two oil boys.
It's that way.
Like, that's been my entire life. Yeah. The town's back that way. One day we'll catch our break, Harry. Like, that's me. Like, my entire life is like that moment. Like, you just look back and you're like, I could be on the Tropic Sun bus right now, oiling up girls. And instead, like, here I am. Like,
That's how you think.
That's
That's how you think of that moment. He offered him a job like the first day. I remember, like he was. You're great.
I mean, think about how many stories people have of that just missed it. Oh, I mean, at least at that moment, you know, just veered off.
It's not
How much
turning out
stuff
to be
comes
Sean.
down
It's
to
okay. I missed it.
It's like how much stuff in everybody's life comes down to a coin flip decision,
But at the
It's
same
just like-
time, I mean, maybe it wasn't. I mean, who knows what you would have happened if you were down there, right? I mean,
Yeah, I'd probably be like on meth right now, like
yeah, you wouldn't
standing
be.
outside of Tootsie's, like, hey guys, how you?
It'd make your Mike
Playing for
Tyson
Rascal
impersonation
how
Flatts.
old
that
were
much
you then?
easier.
How old were you then?
I was 19.
Wow,
19.
that would have been rough. Yeah.
Yeah, man, being exposed to on a level like
You
that,
get
I
with
would
Bob
assume
Carlisle,
you'd be
you'd be-
sucked in pretty quickly.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah, boy.
You and Bob Carlisle be hanging out, writing songs about caterpillars,
Me
butt
and
sex.
Bob.
But it was.
What's funny, what's more aggravating is our friend who we went down there and recorded. Dude, he could have made it. You know what I mean? And he was such a sporadic guy. Like, he recorded this album, and then he went and became like a big music pastor, and like all of this stuff, and just sporadic. And it's like, at the end of the day, like, you could have really done something. And I'm talking to myself too. It's like, really could have taken this and ran with it. And cause like there's a sucker born every minute, but I mean that in a talent way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, these guys, like, there's tons of people. Look at all the people we know in this room that are so talented. I've played with some of the best musicians, I think,
Thanks, Jason. Appreciate
around here. And they could have made it somewhere.
Yeah,
Then you go to a
absolutely.
place like Nashville, and the best bands in Nashville, like, you go into a dive bar at 3 o'clock in the day, and they have just this killer country band. We went.
Yeah.
Justin and I went to
The
this
best
bar.
steel guitar player I've ever seen in my
And-
life, and it was me and him in the establishment.
It was
like,
me and Justin, like one other guy, and we were drinking PBR. And there's this just hot killer country band. This girl sounded like a young, like, Patsy Cline, and they were just murdering, and no one was there to see it. Then we go next
Yeah.
door at like 9 o'clock at night, and we had to pay like a $20 cover. And it was the worst band I've ever seen in my
It
life.
was like Kid Rock cover band or something like
It was,
that.
It was like-
It was freaking
Wow.
packed. It was packed.
It was packed, and it's like, what is this place? Like, what is this place? Like, where is the talent evaluation? Like, where were you next door 5 hours ago when this awesome band was here? And now we have,
I just think it's crazy how there's somebody somewhere that has the power to open doors for people.
Absolutely.
Like, they hold the key to. Now, fortunately, we do live in a culture now that we have so much access to platforms that we can expose ourselves on.
But even that, like, I'm on social media and I'll tweet something funny, like a funny tweet, and it gets like no exposure, and then some random person will tweet something similar like later on,
Yeah.
and it's like it goes viral. It's like, how does it, like, how do you get traction?
Yes.
How do you get traction, whether it's social media or career or something. It's just you have to be at the right place at the right time.
Well,
Like,
it's
the
like
moment has to
Gary
strike.
Vaynerchuk. You know who Gary V is. You guys know who that is. He's like a big media guy, big social media guy. I follow him, and he talks about this a lot. And he says that it's just about consistency and doing it for the love. Like you got to do it you got to love it. Number one, but you got to be consistent. And just keep doing it, and keep doing it, and not care about followers, not care about likes. Like for me, if I'm just playing music, period, I'm fine. Like I don't. I want to make. I'd love to make money off of it. I mean, and I never really did, but I just doing that, just playing. I mean, if I play here by myself, it's fun. But if playing with other people, like if I get to make it and do it, it's really what it comes down to. But he talks about just keep posting, keep putting stuff out there, and don't worry about quality because like you can get caught up in like we could worry about whether all the things that happened tonight. We could and Sean and I have recorded more hours of music than any. I mean, we've recorded.
So have we.
Yeah, so have
We
we.
used to jam at this coffee shop next to Penn Station, and we had
Hebrews.
a whole
Hebrews coffee.
And dude, we would just record hour and a half, 2 hour long jam sessions like 3 times a week,
Nice.
and and it's just those were some of the funnest times we ever had.
And Sean and I've done that too over at his house. Like, and it was for me. It was. I mean, and there were some things that probably we didn't really have gigs. We had 2 gigs. One was my nephew's graduation party, and the review was, "Are they going to start playing yet?" That was the review from the crowd. And then we played out in Green County under this fishing shack, and I swear to God, we played under a fishing shack in the mud. We played the hell out of it, though. I mean,
That's nice.
Dude, I remember we our band Eyes on Italy had a show in Ironton, and it was not Rally on the River, but it was called
Rock for Christ.
I don't know, something like that. So we, it was pretty intense. Like we were really
Say
heavy.
Rally on the River?
It wasn't
No, it was
Rally
like
on
a
the
Christian.
River, but
It was a
like
Christian rally on the. It was a Christian.
it was like
Okay.
it was called like I don't know.
Rock on the River.
Rock on the-
or
yeah.
Rock the Cross on the River. Something Christian-y.
But anyways,
Okay, I
like
don't know what it was.
we were a really heavy band,
Yeah.
and I mean we were some weird cats, but it's the heavy music and our singers go blah, blah, blah.
And he sang
So,
too. I mean,
in the middle of our set, this guy gets up the guy who ran it, and he looked like something out of Ironton.
he looked like Iron.
He gets up.
Enough said.
He gets up like we end the song, and the guy gets up and he goes, "I gotta make an announcement." He goes, "There's a killer on the loose." Do you remember this?
This really happened. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, "There's a, some
he
like
got
guy
on the
like
mic.
mental."
How do I start panic?
Yeah. And then he's like, "There's a killer on the loose in Ironton." And,
God, it's funny.
they put out an APB saying this guy's armed and dangerous and he could be at the river any moment. And then just leaves and we just resume our we just resume our set.
We're all gonna die. Let's have some fun.
Oh, yeah. Everyone get in the pit.
I played,
What the fuck is up, titties?
I played this show in Portsmouth one time at the brewery, and we played with these bands. One of them was called Absolute Hatred was one band. That was one other, and the other band was called.
Which is how the set was received.
Yeah. The other band was with Guerrilla Welfare. Was the other name. That was the other band.
That's the Wish version of the Gorillas.
Yeah. So, and these are like hardcore bands, and it was the Samwise. We were kind of like a hardcore Incubus type of band, And we had been playing on the river that day, and Guerrilla Welfare heard us and asked us to come over, or Absolute Hatred, one of the bands. And they go.
I always get those two confused.
And so we play the show and everything, and Absolute Hatred comes up, and they go, "This song goes out to Samwise. Thanks for coming out to play tonight. This song goes out to them. It's called Vengeance is the Only Way." And then they just go in and just destroy the place.
Dun, dun, dun.
And we were playing there another time, and I don't know if it was that time or not. So we were playing, and we're just killing the song, and this lady goes, "Stop, stop, stop, stop." And we go, "Okay," and she grabs the mic, and she goes, "Jimmy Simpkins, your dad's on the phone." And it was just obvious.
I went to a Samwise show, and I went to watch them play, and they were always a really good show to watch. And Chris and I think it was Eric DeLong had this little thing they did, this little throw the guitar on the back.
Like
Chris,
around your body, yeah.
around the body, and they're rocking, they're killing it. And Josh Iddings is doing what he's doing, and Chris is. It's like that moment when they have it. You know, it's that moment when they both do it. You know,
The music stops and then
the music stops
then
and
we
they
start
do the
again.
whole thing, and Chris does it, and there goes his guitar flying off of him.
Yes.
Cracks Josh in the head. Josh falls on the ground. They
Yeah.
keep going.
It was
though.
that
They don't
guitar right
stop.
there, actually.
We,
that,
don't
this
stop.
guitar right here that did that.
We played this show in
The strap broke is what happened.
Yeah.
The strap broke and I just threw it across.
Dude, and I mean, you got to throw that pretty hard around your body. So when you did that, it had a lot of momentum behind
The
it.
real detail of that is it didn't even hit. Josh had an ingrown toenail that day,
Oh,
and it was killing him. And
see, I know
hit
he
him,
went down. I didn't.
and I
have to-
hit him right in the ingrown toenail. Like I hit him with that guitar, like right in the toe. Remember his grandpa died that day. It was a bad day for him. Like it was a bad day that day.
He got his ass
Gosh.
kicked at the show. We played this show in Painesville. It was like the Painesville Expo.
I remember that.
And it was on a weekend, and it was a metal show. It was like called, I don't know, Metal Fest 2006 or something, whatever
Chain
it was.
Link Diary or
So
something.
we get
Johnson
there.
County.
We get there, and
It was.
it was like everything you would expect, like long, probably like, I don't know at the time, like long, like black Jinkos, and
Goth.
like goth,
Yeah.
like long hair goth, and all the bands were just like,
It was very
we
echoey
show
place. Very
we
echoey,
show up,
yeah.
and we were literally dressed like 1930s newsboys. Legit, I was wearing corduroy pants and corduroy shoes. And
You
a
had
button-up
corduroy
shirt.
shoes?
I had corduroy
Jeez.
shoes and suspenders,
Skechers?
Scally
and
hat.
like an old newspaper boy hat. Chris was dressed like kind of we were all kind of
I had a
dressed similar.
sweater with a shirt under it. Like I'm not gonna sweat my ass off.
and
Like,
and,
I
our,
had- like
and
it
our
was
front
4
man,
degrees outside.
our front man Greg, who was like a skinny Italian guy, was wearing like black slacks and suspenders, and we just looked like
Out of
we had
place.
came out of like
Yeah.
a different century, right? Because that was kind of our thing.
Yeah.
And these people are looking at us like, what are these guys doing here? Like this, they're in the wrong place.
They selling
And like,
encyclopedias or
I think
Cancel
we,
culture, man.
I think we were like the headlining band. So we sat there and listened to this dun 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 dirge all day, like, blah, 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 blah. And we were like way heavier than most of the bands there. So we get up and do our set, and it was so loud, dude. And as soon as we start playing, everyone's looking like, what's going on here? And I have this on tape. We need to,
Yeah, I
we
like
need
to
to
see
get this.
that. I like to see that.
And everyone starts getting into it. They're like, man, these guys are not what they look like. And I think maybe we got to the end of our set. The police came and shut it down. They're like, you guys, like, this is too rowdy. Like, you guys.
It was
So,
too
like,
loud.
These like 5 dudes dressed like total assholes, like we were there taking the census in 1932 or something, and we got the place shut down. Like they shut down the venue. Like it's just too loud. Like it's too raucous. You guys got to go.
It's like Eminem rolling up in there, man.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to be there.
Spaghetti.
Oh, it's funny.
Man, we had some great times.
We
Those
did.
are
We did have some good times. I mean, and that's where like we put so much effort into the music for such a long time. That's where when you think about people in Nashville, like they're all like chasing this dream, and I think a lot of the problem is that people would chase the label for a long time. Like people think they're gonna get on American Idol, someone's gonna see them, and it happens like that. But it's really like hard work. Like, and I'm not saying Linkin Park is probably like the greatest band in the world, but that's how Linkin Park got famous. They toured 350 days in 1 year. The first year they went
It was
out.
wasn't that like the Beatles too? I mean, they were touring like around Germany, just doing
Well, they had a residency at this bar in Germany, and they
It was
just
like a strip club or something.
yeah, it was a strip club, and they just played.
I think it's what you want out of it or what you can get out of it. But as you were saying earlier, if you're doing that for the love, so there's plenty of bands right now as we're talking that's touring, making plenty enough money on it, and we will never hear their names. There's a local band with who's the bass player to
Chris Justice.
Chris Justice. He's in a band. He's got a few members from Lexington that's in it, and maybe another member around here. And last summer they did a big Europe tour. About 3 months in the summertime. Wow. And that's just one small example. I never heard of them. Now, when I heard what they were doing, I listened to their music, and I was like, well, that's cool. I mean, it's nice. But, so, if you want to be exposed, and you want to be that super Grammy, that's a whole other thing. But I think you can make a living touring.
Mhm.
It's
Well,
just being
Kings of
consistent.
Leon got popular in Europe.
Yeah,
Like,
they
first,
said they
yeah.
said if they hadn't gone to Europe, they would have fizzled out and died.
Yes.
Caleb Followell said that in the interview.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, and they were huge. They were huge over there before anybody in America even really knew or cared about who they were.
Yes. And
And
that's what Chris Justice said. He said, man, people loved their... And because when you listen to it... I'm sorry to cut you off. I do that. But yes, it's the same thing. Like, here they weren't being... Not that they weren't received, but there they were just, like, worshipped almost.
I think we're too spoiled to music because I mean,
Oh, God, yeah.
pre-COVID, dude, we could go to any show we wanted and see, killer lineups, even locally. I mean, we give a lot of crap to our local music scene, but dude, again, some of the best musicians
Yes.
I've ever played with have been from right here.
Right.
And I mean, look at Chris's bands we have been in.
Yeah,
The-
man.
I mean, we've been in bands that we could have made it, man. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
but what happened to the music scene? Because like when you guys were playing back in the day, people came out to shows, and now like if you guys put together a band now, it would be like me and like your wives and kids there. Like
Well, and listen, back then it
wait,
was like
not
that.
me.
Back then it was like that too. I was in a band, Crash Room, for a long time, and people liked us. I mean, we were just but we played the Monkey Bar one time, and we're pumped. We're like, oh, finally we get to play the Monkey Bar. It's when Fugazi played the Monkey Bar. Like big bands played. I saw them there, and it was crazy. But I don't know why I'm dropping Fugazi's name, but anyway, but
That's all
right.
I
Shine
think
Down.
it's Fugazi. Hey.
Fugazi.
That's all Shine Down on the first album. man.
Yeah, and so we were like, oh hell yeah, we're going to Monkey Bar, right? We get there, no one shows up. Maybe the other band was there. Someone stole my jean jacket that night. I was very mad. Anyway, but
They did you a favor.
They probably did me a favor.
hipster problem. Someone stole my jean
Someone
jacket,
stole my
man.
jean
Damn
jacket.
it! Put my new patch on.
But
there.
we found
Marlboro
out.
Golds in those. Damn it.
That's in my next album.
My
Someone stole my
motorcycle
jean
club
and-
patch was just on there.
my third eye blind patch on there. Damn it.
Brown-eyed blind.
We found out that Girls Gone Wild was in town.
Oh.
So that's why, that was what we told
That's
ourselves.
a hard act to follow.
Yeah, you
Actually,
can't.
Oh, yeah.
That's
where
pretty
were
good.
they at?
In Huntington at
They weren't at the
Going
Monkey Bar.
wild.
At-
Where?
at-
They weren't listening to them.
So it's like the Hasselhoff pay-per-view that was on the same night of the OJ chase
yeah.
and Game 6 of the NBA Finals. It's like, yeah.
It was. I think they were maybe in 1896 or something like that. Man, I don't know if that still existed then.
I don't
That's the
know.
most debaucherous bar there's ever been in Huntington. It's in 1896. I mean, that's the stuff I've heard that came out of 1896. It was like a house. It was a bar.
Did you ever go? I was there.
I went there one
once.
time, but I didn't drink till I was 25. So I just went and I was like, okay, if you don't drink at a bar, it's not fun. I mean, I didn't think it was. I mean, I guess we're gonna go home, guys, right? Sometime, or like my friend would try. I'm gonna go have sex with this girl in my car. I'm like, oh, I had to sit in the same seat on the way home. Great, awesome. But anyway, I don't know. I went on the.
Remember, we talked about that earlier. The proper etiquette is at least get her to the Winchester Inn
That's
first.
true. That's true.
You gotta respect these girls. Aren't you?
The Winchester, I
Sick
don't
of
want to
men
go there.
disrespecting these women.
But I think there is something about music. Like now, you can do it on Instagram. Now you can do it on. You can. There's great musicians I see all the time.
But that also, going back to your point earlier, when you do it on Instagram, what you're going to do, because I've posted Instagram videos of music before.
and I've never watched them. I feel bad now.
Well, okay, maybe not on Instagram, but
Okay.
like, what you're going to do is you're going to sit there and record it till it's perfect, because everyone's going to see it, or
You could, yeah.
all of
yeah.
your followers are
Mhm.
going to see it. So that kind of takes away from the whole, like you were talking about, like not being perfect.
Yeah, it does, and I think that's what Gary Vee talks about is just put it out there. Like I did a little, I'll call it a series, because like last year during the summer I would just play on my porch, and I would just play acoustic guitar I had that little tone wood amp and it has reverb on it, and I would just make up something on the spot, and it went. I mean, it was for me it was fun. Like I just made something on the spot and I would put it out, and it wasn't too long because people don't listen to 4-minute songs or anything like that. And it was pretty cool. Some people watched it, but for me, it was satisfying. I mean, it's what, like I call it like Sunday night porch sessions or something stupid. Probably too long of a name. Yeah, and I mean, it was, but it, and I look at like, I think it'd be cool to have a podcast or some kind of music thing where just people come in and jam, and like that's what Sean and I've got hours of, like 5 years that we just recorded whatever, and some of it would, just some of it was great and some of it was just crazy noise. I mean, for sure, but
I think you have to like not only be consistent but be like willing to collab. So like if you're bringing in local artists, to come in, they're going to share it with their friends, and then it's going to slowly get more popular.
it's a community. It's not a competition.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And
exactly.
we experienced that a lot. Going back to the show thing, in our band, our singer quit at the end of a show once. We played this band because he was in this other band, and he liked the other band, but
he actually called us his other band on stage.
After our set, he literally says, thanks everyone for coming out. We're blah blah blah, which was not our band name, and then walked off the stage and quit our band. Like that was his. And he literally dropped the mic like, I quit this band right now. Boom. I was like, what? It was just the thing. It's like, it's not a competition. Like, it's not.
It was a battle of the bands, by the way.
We won. We won. We won that battle of the bands, and our singer quit during the show.
We won like 2 or 3 battle of bands.
We did. We did one in Atlanta.
Yeah.
What's funny? That's another funny story. Is we played. They had this battle of the bands at Georgia Tech, and there was this great room or conference room.
It was like a lunchroom almost.
Yeah, it was big, just like conference rooms, like type of kind of catch-all room. And again, most of the bands that were there were like hardcore bands, metal bands, screamo, whatever. And right next to the big great room where we were playing in was like the Muslim prayer room, literally. Okay. So we get to the show,
I don't remember this.
And
I was there, but I don't remember.
There's these, Muslim folks, and they're taking their little prayer rugs into this room, and you look in there, and like they're like down on, bowed down and doing their prayer thing and whatever. It's like literally like feet right away. Next to the door, feet away, you hear. It's like you're just in there, whatever,
Right,
like doing their prayer.
Me, man. Oh, go ahead, finish.
No, that was just funny. It was just like like it was just a really bizarre experience. Like there's a metal show right next to this place.
Anybody seen the Viking series on HBO by chance? Viking
I heard it's pretty good.
It's like the first season.
Is Brett Favre in it?
It's Brett Favre's in it.
Yeah.
He's wearing his Wranglers.
He gets killed at the end.
Copper tones.
Skechers.
I forgot he does do Wrangler
Skechers.
too, doesn't
Yeah.
he? Yeah, right. So,
But
is it pretty good?
where you were saying reminds me of this scene where the Vikings are, they're, what's it called when they go raid and they take all this shit? That's
Pillage.
Yes. And they go into this temple, and it's a Muslim temple. And dude, they are just destroying it. But in the temple, there's these Muslims, and they are just not even paying attention. Like they are so lost. And one of the Vikings stops, and he was because he's he's a pagan, obviously, and he has no respect for Christians or anything. But this impressed him because with all of this chaos going on, they were still so focused on their prayer.
Right.
And the Vikings, or who he was with, the group that he was with, was about to just slaughter them, and he stopped them, and he was like, "No, this is amazing what's going on." So it kind of reminds me.
It
of
is true, yeah.
I kind of like that.
It didn't phase them.
Story.
It wasn't like if it was church people that like go to the Golden Corral. It's like we can't go here, like
Right.
And it's like they didn't care. They didn't
Yes.
care. They were like
says a
lined
lot,
up
yeah.
to get in there.
Yes.
And it's just I don't know. I did find that I had the same observation.
Yeah.
I think everybody kind of takes Muslims as they're all people who are strapping bombs to themselves, and just and that's not true. That's not true. That's not how it is.
My grandmother, she was Muslim, and when she would come visit, she would find a room, and faithfully 5 times a day, if she was there for a week or 2 days, no matter how long she was there, I mean, she was on it, and the sweetest woman anyone would ever meet. And yes, I mean, the generalization of Muslims, unfortunately, is a dark one.
Your family's from Iraq, right?
Iran.
Yeah,
my dad's family is, yes.
Dude, I love your dad.
So you're Persian.
Yes.
His dad, Amir, had the greatest pizza place I've ever been to in my life.
I think you told me about this actually.
best.
Flatwoods.
Man, I can still smell it.
Man.
I can still walk in there, and you walked in, and there was like a mirror with a painting of Amir on it. Right, right underneath of it.
A mirror here.
Yeah, right underneath it.
Yeah, there was. This is really true. Yeah.
Right underneath was one of those old school cigarette machines where you like had to pull the knob.
Yeah.
And man, I just remember it like it was yesterday.
man.
And we when I played with Adam Schroeder and all those
Dusty
guys.
and them.
We
Area
played.
91?
We played it in mirrors. Like we
That
would set
party
up
room.
after the pizza place closed. Man, we'd go in there and John Sargent and man, we would just rock
Oh
out.
yeah, that's a
And
good
I
place
mean,
to play
those
music.
It
man, those are some of the best times of my life.
Yeah,
Like, that's
man, I
my
miss it for
childhood.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. He started that back in 1974, and it lasted a good. Well,
He started that before Pizza Hut.
Sean.
Before
You should reopen it.
Well, you know, Tam. Well, my half sister, she's Tammy. They still own it. Thankfully, they just rent it out, so it's still in the family.
they ran out the building.
Reopen
They were at the pizza
place.
Yes, I don't know about.
Sean
me,
doesn't even
but-
like pizza.
Yeah,
Really.
Sean, you have to.
What?
We're that's a strong
conscripting-
word. Like it, I do enjoy.
You don't
pizza,
have to
but
like pizza.
But I wasn't ever like.
Well,
have
you
to
probably
like-
around it so much that
You have to like the concept.
But there would be yes. I mean, it's
you could
obviously
be
been
on the
molded
on the
over.
mirror. You could be on the mirror right there.
Yeah.
You could be the new mirror.
My dad had the big medallion.
Oh,
Your
man,
dad was
yeah.
a pimp,
He
man.
was gangster.
Yeah, he was a pimp, man. Like,
But
he was-
anyway, yeah, dude. So Islam has definitely got a bad rap. But then again, there is teachings within Islam that does encourage, you know, to martyr
But
yourself.
that's kind of everything, though, right? I mean,
Right.
you could find those teachings, and
Right.
yes, and that's what sucks is that you know you
it's
can
just
sum
like
up a whole group of
Christianity. Like we don't associate like. There's a passage in the Bible where it says if your child disobeys you, you take him out and stone him.
Mm-hmm.
Like no one's like those radical Christians, you know, stoning their kids on the in the
And
brook.
stoning was not. It wasn't just like you threw stones at people.
If
Like,
you-
you threw stones like they had to fall. They fell off a cliff. They took you to a cliff and started stoning you. And you fell off the cliff, and if you they threw stones on you, and then if you still lived, you could you know. You could
This was the first semester of seminary.
It was.
That's the first thing they teach you is how to stone someone.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Like it was way worse than it's than just throwing.
Like
But
think
I
about
think that shows you how wrong we can get it. You know, not to say, you know, I know they thought maybe God did, you know, tell them for whatever reason to do that. But the story is when Jesus caught the woman in adultery.
Yeah.
And, you know, he is, you know, he is the law. He is God in the flesh or whatever. And if anyone had any right to judge and to stone, would be him. And he did.
he chose not to.
He chose not to. He
Yeah,
said, any one of you without sin, throw the first stone. And so he was trying to,
It was a
shift the mind.
Yeah, it was a shift. Yeah.
To show you that we are all under this. And you're right, Judaism and many other religions, I mean, yeah, were
There you
had
go.
just weird.
There you go with the Jews again, Sean. You singled out Judaism several times tonight.
I know, right?
But I think that is the shift in, like from the Old Testament, New Testament is when Jesus came. It was like it wasn't judgmental and showed grace, and that's like, go ahead.
I've been reading a book recently called Zealot that's completely challenging all of that. It's one of the
Of what we just
greatest
said.
books. Yeah, it's one of the greatest books I've read in a long time that actually, you know, in a way, I mean, Jesus, there was a lot of cults during that time. Jesus, in a way, like started a cult. And he goes into the temple. He's turning over everything, causes a scene, like gathering around disciples, trying to create, like,
Yeah.
he's the Messiah trying to, you know, stir in trouble and cause problems and, you know,
Yeah.
That's
trying
a
to-
very
trying to-
bold statement to show up somewhere and say, "I am the Son of God.
Right.
You follow me." And it's
I-
like,
there is a little misconception, I think, sometimes as Christians, where, you know, we think, like,
He's
okay,
peaceful.
well, all of a sudden this changed. You
No,
know?
it was very.
that necessarily didn't happen.
and to
Like,
think as if Jesus was iconic then. I mean, Jesus was
nothing.
on nothing. I mean, he's something now, so we try to take what he is now and put him in that framework.
Yeah, it's
then.
a retroactive-
He was a very small figure in Roman history that was barely even significant. But that's the fascinating part, is how Christianity took off the way it did, because you had one point where the disciples were like, I don't want none of this. This guy said he was a savior, and he just gets murdered, you know? And all of a sudden, you know, they go back to their ways of life. And what's fascinating, that if this story was made up, not to say it hasn't been fabricated to a degree, but, you know, women back then weren't really considered to be taken seriously. And who was the first people that discovered him out of the tomb? Women. So he allowed the message of the resurrection to start from a woman's mouth, when at that time women weren't considered.
They were less than anything.
They were less than anything.
They were
And I
property.
think that's fascinating, because if you were going to start a religion, you wouldn't say a woman found the grave, you know, empty. You would want somebody that would be taken seriously. So there's little nuances
True,
that's throughout that that makes you question that if this was just whatever, it's fascinating how it took off the way it did. But as you said, it wasn't just like that.
Yeah, it's almost like we have this tendency to make fables like retroactive. It's like, I know this is like moving forward from Jesus to Babe Ruth, but it's like we think about 50 years, or probably 80 years now since Babe Ruth's been alive and played baseball, and where it's like Babe Ruth was less than a god and more than a man. He called his shot. When he stepped on the field, blah blah blah. Probably wasn't like that. Babe Ruth was drinking beer and eating hot dogs and banging hookers in the dugout. But like now, all these years,
sure that's true.
all these years later, he's this icon. And we can go back and we could pick figures from history retroactively and ascribe these fables to them, where at the time he was just that guy, and maybe he was popular, and maybe people respected him or whatever. But it wasn't like you go to Sudan and visit starving people; they don't give a crap about Babe Ruth.
Yeah,
and it's like
there were several other messiahs. I mean, which Jesus talked about.
Definitely.
So he called that. But a fascinating thing is, Christianity really had to get out of the Middle East to become popular. It had to go to Rome, because I know when I've been to Jaffa one time, and there's a church. It's called St. Peter's Church, and it's the only church that faces west instead of east, and it's a representation of how Christianity really had to move out of the area to gain popularity. Yeah.
Well, he said, in his own town,
Right.
Nazareth,
prophet is not welcome.
Yeah, he's not welcome.
That's true.
And I think that's. We do deify people we don't know. I mean, deify is a strong word, but like if you saw someone famous, like if LeBron James walked in here or something, you'd be like, you have an image of him that is greater than who he really is. He's just a man. And then we do that as humans. We want someone to have it all together. We definitely want that. We want, like, we look for a father figure. As men, we do. We keep looking for that, and men will let us down. Like, I've had many people that I call mentors, and people I'm like, oh, this person's a human too, and I think that's, I don't think Jesus is like that. I mean, I'm just saying, like, we do seek a golden calf. We seek something to worship and to
even. I think just bouncing off that, even Jesus, like, because what happened was, like, in the story of the Bible, you have Jesus and he resurrected, and, like, first of all, the first thing he did was die. Like, he has all these disciples and followers, and now he's dead. Okay, then he comes back, and they're like even more excited. They're, whoa, nothing can hold this guy down. He's like, no, guys, I'm still peacing out. He's like, I'm still gone.
Yeah.
But I've left you everything that you need. Like, and so I'm gone, and then it's still your thing. Like, he still left them with a void that they had to fill themselves. They had to carry on these teachings in this way, of life themselves. He wasn't going to do it for them. And, like, when you're looking at mentorship and that kind of thing, I think the best we can do, and the older I get, the more I realize this, is we just have to glean whatever is beneficial, whatever's truthful, whatever can help us. We can't put all our stock in one person, because eventually that's what's going to happen. Guess what? People die. People go away.
They let you down.
They let you down.
Yeah.
They disappoint you.
Yeah.
But you can there's still truth in the lessons they've taught you.
Oh, I agree.
There's still a blueprint for success there that you can take, and you can avoid the negative stuff, or try to, because we're all gonna do that.
Oh, yeah.
There's so often you see, like, militant atheists try to, like, point fingers at the church unnecessarily,
Right,
like, oh, well, this priest had inappropriate sexual relations with me.
That's a nice way to put that.
This well, it is a podcast. I'm being careful. Or
He did on a boy.
yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. This person, recently here in I live in a small town here locally, and there was a youth pastor that just got arrested for sending nudes to, like, a 16-year-old girl somewhere in Ohio, and they tracked him down and arrested him. Like, known the guy my entire life. Like,
Right.
never would have expected it.
Right.
But, like, we're all human. We're not perfect, and we can't put our trust into people, into humankind. We have to put our trust into God. So
Yeah, man. The thing with the exemplars, or the examples, Aristotle, Aquinas, Augustine, they all believed in this thing called a eudaimonia life, which is a flourishing life. And they thought that it takes practice. And just like you get a great athlete who hones their body, who develops their skills, and they go to the Olympics and they win the race, you know, or they achieve. And Aristotle believed that's how you develop virtues. It takes practice.
Yeah, I agree.
And
That's why they call medical doctors have a practice.
Right.
It's the
That's
same
true, yeah.
same thing.
Yes. And so he believed that children need those examples. So they have some sort of reference point. That's why Jesus said, "Follow me. I am your example," right? So we need in this world examples, as you said. And to be able to understand, though, that this person that we are admiring or looking up to, you know, they're, you know, putting them on the pedestals where we are doing them harm. You know?
Right.
And like there's a minister just recently, Ravi Zacharias,
Yeah.
who you know, great apologetic minister and amazing teacher. And it doesn't take away, as you said, the truths that are
Right.
there. There's a great thing I've been learning. It's called a spiritual gap. And there's a spiritual gap between the knowledge that you know and where you actually are, right? And it's easy to gain a lot of spiritual information, and you think you know and you think you are on it, but there's a gap there between where you actually are and where your knowledge is at.
Well, think
It's what it says, not to lean upon your own understanding.
think about this. Going back to that, the sports concept and the athlete.
Yeah.
Look at coaches, man. Like, and then you go to the NBA. Most coaches are old white dudes.
Mm-hmm.
They're not LeBron James. They're not whoever.
Right.
They can't go out there and perform these tasks. But man, they got the knowledge,
Yes.
and they can convey, "Hey, Steph Curry, this is the play we need to run to score these points." But you are the one who can execute it, not me. And that's kind of that same concept with that gap of, you know, well, dude, I mean, again, my own life in the current state it's in, I know what I could do to fix not fix, but I know I could do things better. I know I could be a better person. I have that knowledge. I have that capability, but I don't know. I'm a human being. Like we fall short. We let ourselves slip. We do.
Yeah, man.
You know, we get lazy. We get whatever, and the dots don't connect somewhere.
And it goes back though, like those athletes that we talk about, any athlete, professional. If you think about what it takes to be a professional athlete, think about the guy who's sitting on the bench, how good he is. You know, nevertheless the starters, right?
Right.
So there's all these different levels of dedication, and you know, people get results from that. And when it comes to this gap, one thing I'm learning is, you know, in the beginning, the original sin, the first thing that Adam and Eve did, the reality changed. It's funny, like perception, right? When you think of what is reality. And they had one perspective of reality before sin. And then the moment they disobeyed, nothing changed, right? But their eyes were open. They realized they were naked. But they were always naked. But the reality changed. They were aware now. So thoughts can change your reality and how you perceive things. Even though nothing's changed, you can become self-aware of certain things that you didn't know were there before.
It's also who you're listening to. Like, I love that scripture because God comes and he says, "Can't find you guys." You know, he's God. You can probably see him. You know, and you know, he's like, "Where you guys at?" You know,
Like my 2-year-old. It's like,
Yeah.
where are you at? Whoa.
yeah,
Marco.
it's just like that. Yeah, and he said, "Well, we're naked." You know, that is like, we're naked. And he's like, "Who told you that?"
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I love that because I had to think to myself, I think negative things, or I put expectations on myself that aren't real or whatever, and I think, oh, who's telling me that? You know, is that society? Is that the devil? Is it, you know?
You know, so going with that,
Yeah.
there's this, and I'm taking this, I'm in graduate school, by the way, and I'm taking philosophy of religion and ethics is what I'm going for. But I'm taking the spiritual formation class on top of it. And what's great about this class is
If you just take mushrooms, you can just be
Oh,
enlightened. Totally.
yeah, right.
That's the only thing you got to take to be spiritually
Need a
enlightened.
degree.
Need some toads.
But what's great is there's actually, he talks about there's 2 temptations. My professor talks about
Oh,
2
your professor. Okay,
temptations. Yes,
that's one
right.
who said it.
And he mentions how there's the moral temptation, and of course there's the fleshly temptation. And the moral temptation is when you realize you're doing something you shouldn't do. Oh Lord, I'll fix that. I'll work on that. I'll do this, and it's all I. And that's the moral temptation of thinking what Adam and Eve did. They covered themselves first with leaves, right?
Oh, wow.
To hide themselves. And God's like, no, I see you. And then he gave them skins of some animal, whatever it is, and gave them other types of garments. But they try to fix it themselves first. So, and this is, to me, a very powerful thing that I needed to hear. But it's just the fact that the spiritual gap that I think a lot of people are in is that they're afraid just to be upfront and be like, God, I'm full of this, I'm full of this, you see it, and you still care, you still love me, and I'm not going to hide from you anymore. I am what I am, and I don't necessarily like what I am, but I know only you can give me the strength to get me to where I am, because I'm done trying to make myself something.
And that's where I'm at. I've realized this recently. Everything going on with my relationship and all of this stuff. Like, realize like if I could have fixed it, I would.
Yes.
I would just do it.
Oh, that's a
Yes.
good point.
But obviously, I can't.
Right.
So there's
man.
some things you just got to let go of.
Yes.
Because when we take this, I don't know, we take these tasks upon ourselves to improve our lives, and there's nothing wrong with wanting to improve your life. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be a better person. There's nothing wrong with wanting to make amends with things that are broken around you. But there's some things you just have to let go of.
Mm-hmm.
You can't. I mean, you can't. Obviously, like, again, going back just to the simple concept of, don't you think if I could have kept my brother from dying, I would have.
Right.
Right.
I couldn't.
Right.
Don't you think if I could have kept this, thing from happening, that I would have done it? And I tried to do it, and I failed
Yes,
because I
man.
couldn't. I never could all along.
Right.
So you have to. That's just the one thing I've learned a lot is just being able to let go of things you can't control.
That's it.
Because the only thing it's going to do is just torment you day and night.
The way it helps me to, because I feel like I honestly have a strong relationship with God, and it's not because I don't, if someone would have observed my life behind closed doors, I might do certain things that might not be approved of in their eyes or whatever. But the only reason I feel this way is because I see my mom, who's not with me anymore, and my brother. We were raised by the same parents, and in the same household. But my brother took a different path in life. Fast lane, partying. But not once did my mom ever shut the door on him. No matter how many times he went to jail, no matter how many times, like, they would get in arguments when he would be on a substance. And he would say the most awful things to her. And you would be like, really? What's going on? And still yet, man, her love for him was unconditional. And if a parent, and God and Jesus describes that love, he goes, if a father knows how to give a good gift, how much more does your Father who loves you in heaven? And so I go to God and be like, God, I am fucked up.
Yeah.
But I love you, and I know you love me, but Christianity was never meant to be like, okay, God did all this work. He planned this all since the beginning of time, this whole plan of salvation, only for us to keep doing it ourselves? No.
Right.
So, for my reference point is that at least I had a mother that showed me some unconditional love that I know, what, if she could do that with my brother who, and they made, before my brother died, they made a really good.
And I'll tell you this, man, and I'll say it to anyone, and I said it to my mom before she passed, but I didn't know what love was until the day my brother died.
Mm-hmm.
Had no clue. Because I saw it.
Yeah, man.
I saw it. I saw her hold his hand and sing to him, and just
When your brother died,
Yeah.
your mom was singing to him.
yeah, when my brother
Wow.
died,
Wow.
Gosh.
and she's she prayed with him and she sung to him, and I've just never, it felt transcendent. There was
Yes.
something different
Yes.
happening that was not in this realm, in this atmosphere. It was like we were on a different planet.
Right.
And and my mom only lived another year after my brother passed. I never looked at her the same again.
Yeah, man.
Never.
Yeah, you'll carry, and that's powerful, bro.
Mhm.
And that's a great.
And that's
reference
just all I can hope. I have 4 kids.
point. Yes.
The rest of my life, like, all I can hope is to be that.
Yes, bro.
That's it.
And you know how fucked up you are. And
Oh,
if,
yeah.
if you are trying to do that with everything within you, God sees that. And I think Christianity is the most beautiful religion. I've came from other, as I said, part of my family was Islamic. I've studied other religions to some degree. And Christianity makes the most sense when it comes to the human capacity of what we can go through and what we can hold. No other religion addresses these things. And to the level that Christianity does. Christianity has a worldview from metaphysics to reality, and it's an amazing thing, but it gets misconstrued and it gets distorted because we put burdens on people that shouldn't be. And I feel like everybody's in their own place right now, and we're all God's children. You love your children, I would assume, not that you don't have, oh, this guy's more like me or whatever, and this one's whatever, but you love them differently possibly. But
Yeah, see, I don't treat my main son and my other sons any different.
Yeah.
There's this, and it's about love. And my mentor, I guess I've been on a bit of a spiritual journey this last couple of years. You guys know that.
Seen a lot of therapists.
Actually, that's before I went on the journey.
So many different coats.
And I'm in a program or whatever. And my sponsor says, I'm gonna call him a sponsor. Just go ahead and say it. I wasn't trying to do that, but he says you either love or no love, Chris. You have a choice. Every time you exist in reality, you can either love or no love, and you can choose every time. And it's practice, like you said.
Yes.
You practice to play well with others.
Yes.
And I'm in a lot of work situations where I have people that are just vehemently against me, and I could go no love. And I started in the last 2 years. I've started just to go the love way instead of fighting with somebody. It takes 2 people for a war, right? I'd say I'm not fighting with you.
Not if you're the U.S. government.
Yeah, no, they'll just make a war. But
We love money.
yeah. But
We love all.
But for 2 people,
Sorry, guys.
it's okay. For
Oh, don't mind me. Keep talking about it.
you're, for,
What is this like? What is this like? I don't know, the ultimate purpose of love. Like, even if you talk to people who are, maybe they don't even believe in God. Maybe they're atheists, and then they'll do psychedelics, and then they know that the purpose is love. Or like I've watched like trips of people doing DMT on YouTube, and they pass out and they're just going love.
Yes.
Love.
because
Love.
it's the divine.
What is that? Like,
if you were to
Yes.
talk to my mentor or whatever about it, he is all about called spiritual debris, and he talks about this permeates every religion and permeates the fabric of reality is love, and he says that the point of it is love, like you to practice that love, that divine nature of loving over hating, loving over the light over darkness. That's the point. Like in every situation you have a feel, you know that there's a part you can be like, this is a selfish way, and then you have the love way, and you're gonna love somebody. And for me, it's changed the way I react to people. I work in a very competitive workplace, things like that. It just changed, and it's weird because it has elevated me to a place where I have more peace, and I'm not at odds with people. And for some reason, when you're talking about your brother, he was, of course, a great friend of mine, and I thought, like, there's this show, WandaVision. I don't know if you guys have watched that. And
heard about it.
and during it, there's this quote, and it says, "Grief is love persevering." And it made me think of that. It made me think of, grief is love persevering. Like, your mom loved, your brother so much, that her love perseveres even his death, And it, for me, like, I don't know, I think that's.
But
When you went there, I was like, yeah. I mean, that's what that is.
I guess my
Sorry, we could have gone into the
my grasp and what I wrestle with is if it's universally agreed that's the purpose, right?
Okay.
Why is it so damn hard? Why?
Free will.
Yeah.
I know, but I mean, don't you think most, like, again, going back to the if I could fix it, I would,
But here's
right?
it-
But it's not within my free will
Why-
to fix
so why
it.
is
or
it
I
hard
could.
There's
to
no
love?
love with free will because then you're just what's the purpose?
I understand, but
A
even
robot.
with
I'm
it,
going to
even
play
with
the bad guy for a second too. Though it's like, why do you have to go through 6,000 years of turmoil? Because Satan told God, said, there's holes in this. The whole thing could blow up, and then God says, "You want to make a bet?" And then here we are, with the world in the state it's in.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's this. It's about us to practice that divine nature, and if it's going to happen, like for me, it's not about the Bible and religion and all that. It's about what am I? What's going to fulfill me? What's going to be the best path for me here to coexist with others, and how can I have peace in myself? Like I know that if I go the no love way, the dirty, fighting way, it's not going to work. I mean, it's going to cause me. It's caused me problems.
That kind of addresses a little bit of the point that you're saying when it says you can build your house on the sand under the rock, right? It's shit's going to happen to everybody, but what are you based on when it does? And
I think that's true. Yeah. All right.
no one is immune to pain and suffering in this world.
Was what
If it
Paul
wasn't
said.
for pain, you wouldn't know there was an issue, right? If you didn't know if you didn't know you had bad teeth, because it didn't hurt, you would never get fixed for it. So pain is an indicator that something's off. Your body's signaling, wait a minute, you shouldn't be doing that. But then I know there's other moments when life is just taken from people. You're driving down the road, you have a family, all of a sudden you can be taken from your family of no fault of your own. And those questions are definitely hard to answer, but it goes back to what's your house built on, and whether it was meant to be those horrible things that occur, because I'm not one to believe that every single thing must be God's will necessarily.
yeah.
But the pain that I've been through personally, there is no choice but to move on. Because if you don't move on, then you're doing yourself a disservice, and then everyone else around you. So it's just one of those things that if you really reflect on it, we don't really have much of a choice. And in terms of why your brother going through what he did, or my brother going through what they did, they had free will and they chose to live their life a certain way,
And either of us could choose it the same way. I mean,
and there's nothing you could have done to change that. No matter, my brother was a drug abuser, and yeah, he died a week after my mother did, and it was just one of those things that my dad, my mom, and my brother, those were my immediate family. They're not here no more. I wasn't really raised with my half sisters. They're in their 60s, so they're much older. So, but at the same time, that pain and suffering that I went through, I mean, I know that I'm anchored, that I can't explain it. It's almost undescribable. If I try to explain, I'll mess it up. But I know God kept me centered during that time.
So what did Paul
You remember
say?
the-
You said?
The hymn that said, oh man, how does it go? It says, crap.
Anchor? Something about anchor?
No, it's man. You'll have to come back to me. I'm
No
trying to
problem.
think.
No, you're good.
Going to Canaan now? Is that the
Yeah,
one?
I'll fly away.
I'll fly away.
So what
Page
did you say that
333.
Paul said?
Oh, I believe I think it was in one of the Timothy's that he said, "Time and unforeseen occurrence befall us all," or something along those lines.
Yeah.
Just to go to your point, so that's not everything's preordained, predetermined, and stuff like that.
Oh, I remember the song lyric. His oath, his covenant, his blood protects me from the whelming flood.
Yes.
And all around my soul gives way. He then becomes my hope and steady.
Yes.
On Christ, the solid rock. It talks about building your foundation, and the Bible says build your hopes on things eternal.
Yes,
bro.
bro.
Nothing of this world. And we build our hopes trying to fix everything around us, like we've been talking about.
Yeah.
And we can't do it. Our hope has to be somewhere else.
That's
because
it, man.
within ourselves we can't do it. We can't. And whether, even if, dude, I wake up every day and I don't know what I believe,
Right.
or who I believe in, or what. But it's got to be something better than this, because 33 years I've tried to do it,
Yeah, dude.
and I've just done nothing but screw it up. So like my hope has to be somewhere else.
Absolutely.
And that's what I just have to almost trick myself into thinking that every day, because if not, I'm just going to spectacularly fail even more.
Yeah, man. I understand.
Because if we live within ourselves, it's a hard lesson. It's a mature lesson. It's something. This is a grow up moment when you face these situations. I know you know exactly what you're talking about. Losing close family members like that. I mean,
but you and all of us will at one point. That's the thing about life is what's crazy. Every one of us will either be lost or we'll lose someone that we love. And if we live in that consciousness that life is that fragile, that at any moment, as we know, we could be taken. And unfortunately, we get so caught up in the materialness of the world, the physicality of the world, the sensations of the world, that we do lose the eternalness, the eternity of it all. But the thing is, when you really look at life and judge suffering and pain, it's such a small, minute. In your 33 years, this has probably been the hardest 2 years of those 33. So think about
without
it.
even question.
31 years have been pretty damn good. So we can't just we can magnify one small part of our life and think that's all what life exists of. When really there are 7 billion people that live in this world. And we are all coexisting, and most of us want to coexist. Most of us don't want to murder each other. Most of us don't want to rape each other. Most of us don't. So there is a lot of good and positivity that's out there that's not being magnified, at least within our own minds. But for me, when I put things in perspective, the shit that I do go through is far and few between compared to all the good times. Like this right now, this very moment. Being able to even do this is an amazing thing, So we can't get lost in these little frames compared to the big picture.
Yeah.
You have to zoom out.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think it's like, for me, I like to go back to like you were talking about why these people on mushrooms like love. But no, it's the point is that every person is looking for what this is all about. We live in a very existential time, like a time of wealth. Like I look at that. Like I've got a great career. I've got more crap than I ever need. More stuff you can in this room alone. You can tell. But I look, okay, like what is the point of this? And that's probably one of the reasons I abused substances and all that stuff, and just trying to find this place, And I found that I was looking at like. The challenge is, can I love people through it? Can I love myself? Like, what are the expectations on myself? Do I accept my reality? I have a lot of pain issues. I have to accept, okay, this is where I'm at. I can't do the things I used to do. I have to accept and I surrender and say, really the serenity prayers got me, okay, God, okay, show me what I can't control. Okay, I'll control that as much as I can. And then I'll let you give you the rest, Like that's, for me, I had to really get there because I was trying to control everything about myself. And everything about everybody else, and I hated my reality. I had a car wreck in 2015, and my life went. I was like, I couldn't do shit for a long time, Yeah, man. And I had to really, and I kind of tried to escape, and then I just kept screwing stuff. So it's just what's the challenge of this whole thing? What's the point of it? And I'm not saying like, oh, I'm now at a place where I'm floating on a cloud of love, and everybody, I still get mad, and I still. And if there's a waxing gibbous moon, I lose my mind. There's something wrong with that. That moon phase seems to blow my. I don't know. Sometimes I'll feel a little crazy, and I go, what moon phase it is? Last Siri, and it'll be like waxing gibbous. I'm like, yes, it is, because I'm gonna turn into a werewolf. I don't know what happens then, but it's kind of a.
But going back to stuff, like you talk about all this stuff, and we have stuff, and we strive for stuff.
Right.
We need to get better jobs so we can get stuff, and I think that's part of, and not even in a selfish way. I know I'm not speaking for you, but I kind of am because I know you so well and myself. But it's like, we want to have this stuff to be creative and explore ideas.
That's true.
And help us find you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, I know that we're like that, and it's like, that's just part of it. Like everything we do is to reach for whatever this, to grasp meaning and to grasp even a moment of clarity. And
yeah,
so it's not necessarily always a bad thing.
No, it's about if it's the meaning, like if I listen when I was
like, why would you want to find a soulmate? You know what I mean? Like, because
you're really going there now.
I know, yeah, but it's like someone who
That's a great
understands
song.
you.
I'm sure that's going to be a great hit song. Why would you want?
That's a good point because like I feel like a piece of crap because I've probably had 50 different hobbies within the last year. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna pick up this instrument, or I'm gonna start golf or skiing or this and that, and like you just end up giving up, and you're like, nope, well, it wasn't for me. Like, what am I supposed to do now?
But
And
Jordan
it's
Peterson.
because I'm trying to explore
You guys
myself.
listen, ever
I'm
listen to
trying
Jordan
find
Peterson?
something.
Ever listen to
Yeah, I
Jordan
love
Peterson?
Jordan.
He talks about how the point of life, one of the joys of life, is learning something and getting better at it. He talks about that a lot, and
Well,
that is
first of all, we got to start with.
yeah, oh yeah. I mean, he's very, but he talks about.
God has really what is
Is that your Jordan Peterson voice?
It's kind of a Kermit the Frog slash.
One of his presentations on YouTube, he spent on the first slide, and it goes for 3 hours. Like, my God, man!
Dude,
like,
he was-
well,
can
I'm
we
not
stay
saying-
on track here?
I mean, he's a
That's
professor.
my only like pet peeve about this guy. Like,
he's a
he
professor.
needs help, like when it comes to like organizing
You need
what
to,
he's
like,
going to say. Like,
His
sometimes
books
you
are
just
that
lose him.
thick. You know, he's pretty.
Dude, he
but I do like that idea of getting better at things.
He was
you
on
know.
he was on Joe
Yes.
Rogan, and I listened to that podcast, and I mean they just kind of went into a place like we are, where it just started just talking, and then just like really got into like deep stuff. And man, he said something, and I could repeat what he said, kind of, but man, it hit me like a train. And dude, I just laid there, and he was like, he talked about how you start building resentment, and how you start, you know, and eventually you're at a place where, and I think almost the quote he says was, you know, you're getting a lap dance, and you feel like your life is just out of control, and you realize that all of your decisions and all of your whatever has led up to that point. And man, that just hit me so much because
Were you getting a lap? Did you get?
I wasn't getting a lap dance while I was listening to Joe Rogan while I was getting a lap dance. But I think the overall point was, you know, he was talking about how people grow apart and we build resentment for other people and all of this stuff. And
So the resentment isn't just low testosterone. I'm just asking for a
it could
friend.
be.
I've had to go through my own resentments through this program, man. You know, and I wrote down all these people I had resentments on, and I realized that every resentment I had, my dad, my parents and girlfriends, the girl that said she wanted me down a plane, you know, people I work with, you know, whatever it was, all these resentments, people I work with, you know, it was all in the church, the government, it was all that I had unrealistic expectations for that person or you know,
Entity.
establishment or an entity. Yeah. I couldn't say that word for some reason, and I realized that I had the same resentment toward myself because I had unrealistic expectations for myself. Talk about freeing for me, you know. And I was like, oh, everything's messed up. Like, you know, church is run by people, you know, the government's run by people. You're a person. All these people, like, you know, my dad was a person, you know, he was trying to do the best he could, you know, and so it's kind of just set me free. I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm gonna stop expecting so much out of everything. And
I think my expectancy or expectations at this point is to be disappointed.
yeah.
If you really set the bar low, you're not going to be disappointed a lot. But life still finds new ways to disappoint me even further. So that's really. I mean,
But you can be
concept
pessimistic about it too, but I guess, but I think it's like bevying those. Like, I think, you know, every day doesn't have to be a revolution. You know, I don't have to be Che Guevara every day and start a fight with somebody because I think something's wrong. You know, because I should do that. Like,
or
well,
murder gay people. Like,
yeah, like whatever it is. Sorry.
Start a comic book called Frank the Vampire.
Yeah. Like I don't, you know, it's so easy. Like I think I'm smarter than everybody else. I thought I was smarter. I thought I was better looking than I was before I've been through all this. You know, but I kind of like maybe I'm not. So you know, but
You're
it's
still pretty hot.
yeah. Oh, I appreciate it. But you know
What are we doing later?
Is it Thursday yet?
COVID gave me a little bit of rounderness, but it wasn't actually the COVID virus. It was just me doing nothing. But I don't know. It really helped me to really those expectations kind of bevying those really helped me out anyway. But I don't know. That's just
Yeah. Well, you guys were talking about it seems like the thread that goes through whatever religion you want to
yeah.
is the love thing, and it's like and you were talking about resentment, and it's like find myself increasingly having a hard time rooting for my fellow person. You know,
Yeah.
you know, it's like
it's not a
between
fix.
the cancel culture and the news networks that are.
Yeah.
I realize that it's not a fix-sum game. Like Sean's success doesn't impede me from succeeding.
Right.
You know, unless we're directly competing for the same job or something. But it's like, good for him. Guess what? There's something else. Like, we have this idea in our head that if someone else is not successful, that means we can somehow hone that success. But that's not how it works. You know, and when you talk about rooting for other people, like, I want my friends and I want my family to succeed. I want them to be happy. And, you know, when we find ourselves in these times of disappointment, we almost want to pull everyone down to where we are. And I think that's such a pervasive thing in our society now is I'm not happy, so therefore you can't be happy. Like, I have to make sure you're just as miserable as I am, you know, because I don't know.
Well, that could be perpetuated, you know, through the means of the social media platform that we have now. It can happen instantly. You know, you can give in your opinion, and all of a sudden, you know, you got 500 people liking it or disliking it or making comments on it. And really, you didn't really process your thought. You just reacted, and I don't think people take the time to really break down why they stand for what they stand for, or why they even believe what they believe. And so the arguments become kind of all over the place and becomes more personal. Like this discussion right now should be the way it should be. You know, different perspectives, not necessarily we have different perspectives, but
We haven't fought yet. We need some more debate in this room. Who doesn't like love? Who is in here that is against love?
Big proponent of hate, personally.
I think it's also
well,
like,
that's just the thing.
He was in the
though,
band
right? We all
hate,
want it, but yet
hate
there's
monger
still-
or whatever.
But that is a funny thing that we all desire that. That's the ultimate means or end goal is, you know, to be loved and I guess express love and whatever all that entails. But yet there's still
Unless you're Mitch McConnell, then you can screw straight off. I'm just saying.
that's exactly right. How some people have the
I was
But-
making a sub point.
But honestly, like, but going back to that, and
Oh,
not to
God, we
be
just
not to
took
be
a turn.
sarcastic or whatever, but like, how does Mitch McConnell affect your life? You know what I mean?
he doesn't.
Like, he
Yeah.
doesn't.
Yeah.
Like, unless if you think about, unless you let Mitch McConnell's existence affect your life. That's what I say with all politicians. It's like, if you let Donald Trump affect your mood during the day, you need help.
I mean,
You
really,
have
if
to,
you
like-
think about Christians shouldn't vote because in Psalms
I
think it's
agree.
the 37th chapter, it says, "Do not put your trust in nobles, nor in this unearthly man."
I don't know if that's
agree.
saying not to vote, but
No, I mean,
agree.
it says, "Don't put your trust in nobles
I don't think
I mean,
anyone
I
should
know,
vote.
but I don't think that means like
and princes in the kingdom."
I don't-
Caesar, what does Caesar pay all your taxes, Gary?
Yeah, pay your taxes, right? Yeah.
There's a conflicting
Romans
argument
13.
there.
when Jesus said that, you know, the Roman Empire was not a good. I mean, they were evil.
Yeah.
And he still said, "You render unto Caesar's what is Caesar's." So there is this balance, even the most under corrupt government, that the audacity. But then at the same time, for his message, you know, he knew what he was doing. For us, though, I would disagree in the sense that, you know, if Christians, you know, I
It
feel like
also
they would
says-
have a clear. I'm generalizing it because it's just not Christians, but voting, I think whether you're a Christian or not, is highly important because me being a Christian, I would feel like, you know, I'll be voting for someone who I feel holds a certain standard of life. And it's not talking about certain policy issues because I'm pretty liberal in a lot of ways, but I wouldn't want just, I will leave it to the hands of the quote unquote heathen to decide who our leaders are going to be.
Well, I mean, 70 million Christians also thought George Bush was that answer, and he killed 1 million Iraqis. So there's always
Well, the
going to
only
be.
reason they think is because, you know, you get a Republican and they're going to, you know, they're going to talk about anti-abortion things and
Right.
they have all the talking points. But it's really about the pro-life issue is
But I
really
mean-
why.
Yeah, they
Christians-
find one issue.
What it
and-
comes,
Yeah,
what it
that's
comes
the
down to
lowest
me
common denominator.
Yes.
is that's never worked in the history of time.
No.
It's never worked. Voting for who you think is going to do the right thing or who you think is a moral person has never worked ever. Never.
Wouldn't that go to where it says to be no part of the world too? Then why are you trying to shape world policy?
Yeah, you could go there.
Yeah, I don't think it needs to be a Christian state.
I mean, yeah,
you know, like a state of affairs, like it's a theocracy.
I do. I think we should start with Missouri.
I mean, the battle's not going to be one of love and evil, and light and dark. It's not going to be one.
Especially not through politics.
It's not going to be one through politics. It's
No.
not. It's going to be one through individuals.
Right.
That's where it's going to be one. But if you talk about, voting, but really you need to. If you talk about wanting to change society, you're going to have to do it through individuals who rise up, and there are ways to get people who shouldn't be in office.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is there are ways to get rid of people. We could do it, but the problem is we don't have time.
Don't ask the Italian guy in the room.
Yeah, yeah. Like we don't have. We need to take the time and effort to make those changes on a local level. And that's who really affects us.
That's what we think. Like
the local level.
We think Joe Biden or Donald Trump or I don't know Rick Santorum or whoever, whichever asshole people are voting for, like they invest in him. It's again putting your faith in people
And
putting your faith.
none
Donald
of these guys
Trump is
should
going to
affect
fix
your ability
my
to sleep
problem.
and-
That's what I think it's referring to. I think it's referring to
and
like,
it's like
Donald Trump's not going to save you.
first of all, if you realize how inept these people are when they get into this institution called government, which we should all realize by now, but it's
that it's
like,
set up to bog itself down.
again the Jordan Peterson thing. You're voting for Donald Trump or Joe Biden or whoever to fix your life when you have dirty socks in your floor. You have
He does.
a shit stain in your toilet. Clean your house first, man. You can't even, you can't fix Donald Trump's not going to come in your house.
We're
and
looking for
clean
a
it.
savior,
Right?
They thought Jesus was going to come as a
control
military
what you
person.
can. Clean your toilet. You know what
Like
I mean?
they thought Jesus was going to
But
come
that's the
and
thing
be a
about
military leader.
How Donald Trump and he took advantage of the vulnerability. The people that don't have time to fact check, don't have time to pay attention to local government.
Yeah.
When you have a leader who feeds into divisive language, who feeds into the rhetoric of us and them, then it does matter, because the people that don't have time to research is just going to take, if you are the person that takes Trump at his word, because 75 million people did vote for him, that's a lot of people. Mm-hmm. That's a platform, plus 63 million people on a Twitter account. I mean, that's power. Mm-hmm. So there is a point where you're just not an average private citizen anymore, that your words do matter and they carry weight. And unfortunately, you're rational enough to be like, I'm not going to take Donald Trump at his word, but
that just shows you the divergence that we've gone into, where we put this much faith in one person. And again, 75 million people voted for Trump. 70 some more million people voted for Joe Biden. Mm-hmm. It's again, he's like, at the end of the day, he's just this old guy.
Yes.
And why do we believe anything these people say anyway? But
well, that's what I was saying, is that me personally, I think it does matter, because you get someone like Trump who is amoral, apolitical. He's not Republican or Democrat. He don't give a fuck.
Right.
He
has no moral guiding compass.
Yes. He whatever he did, whatever he accomplished was not him. His administration might have done things that were great for our country. I mean, we still have our rights, thank God, right? I mean, so
that's good.
Whatever.
You did a good job on that.
But I feel like you get someone who's amoral and apolitical, who has nothing to lose in the game, then you will throw a wrench in. I think this is the first time in my lifetime that I've seen our democracy been tested as much as it was. Our democracy was tested to the point to where they were about to overturn 80 million votes for a fake voter fraud thing there was no proof behind. So
I think there's a difference though between what Gary's saying. You said Christians shouldn't vote. I mean, I don't think that was extreme. What you're really saying is that we shouldn't trust in leaders to guide us to. You shouldn't trust.
I'm posing more of a question. Should Christians vote?
It's an interrogative.
It says
Okay.
not to, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interrogative. I think we have to. There's a difference between who we trust in is who's going to lead us to greatness in our life. You know what I mean? Then, should we take a stand for politicians who are making laws and leading people and say, wait a minute, this guy's causing us versus them type of dynamic. 1984 talks about that.
yes.
Right, and then I'm an anarchist. I believe in decentralizing government. Period. I don't believe in voting, But you go back to like hyperbole of Donald Trump, and I totally agree. You know what I mean? He's this cult of personality figure and all of this.
Right.
But you rewind and go back to Barack Obama, who maybe was one of the best politicians ever. You know, he was one of the greatest orators. Handsome, he's good looking, and all of this stuff, and he's kind. He goes out there and
he came from nothing.
And today, you know, we acknowledge that all Americans are, you know, blah blah blah. But at the same time, he's drone bombing Syria, and people are dying. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he
drone
oversaw
strikes
this
went up,
black
yeah.
hand that was literally murdering people.
It's more
But
complicated.
he was
than
nice.
that, though.
Yes.
You're oversimplifying. The
I know, but he was.
situation
I know,
extremely,
but
he got
he
handed
did-
the baton.
But the
Yeah.
but-
Yeah, he got. I mean, that's just.
yeah,
But I see
you
your
know,
point, like-
the point is like, you know, out of sight, out of mind. Donald Trump's a mean guy, so of course he's bad and all that. But it's like, you know, like sometimes these peaceful people, like George Bush, he's a good Christian. He's, you know, doesn't believe in abortion, but there's a million dead Iraqis who would probably have
Yeah.
a different
Yes.
opinion.
And that was
And I'll challenge you a little bit too. Like, I think one of the scariest things, and I've worked for the Republican Party. I've worked for the Koch network. I've worked for
The
one of
Koch brothers?
the
The
Koch brothers, folks.
I've worked for one of the biggest
telling ya.
Israel organizations in the country. Like, I've worked in politics the last 10 years. I'm not an expert by any means.
That's awesome.
But one of the scariest things to me is that I think, generally, there's exceptions. Most people think that they're doing the Lord's work. Like, I think
Yeah, oh, yeah. I
Hitler
believe-
probably thought he was a great guy.
yeah.
Right.
You know, they don't know. They don't know that. I think most people think they're loving people. They're doing something that they need to do to benefit others.
Right.
And, you know, how do you distinguish that?
With that, you know, with that being said, I mean, since Trump is our current conversation with our leader, I mean, there's a difference. Like, none of us would hang out with anyone who lied to us one time, 2 times a day on a constant basis. Would you date a girl?
2 times a day.
No.
No, I couldn't.
I've
So-
done it, but I'm not going to do it anymore.
That's what I'm saying. so if we in our own lives, if
But
we're
I'm not gonna do
rational,
it anymore.
if we're rational people, which all of us are, none of us would have a friend or a mate that we knew constantly could not just tell the fucking truth. You are the leader of the free country, of Christian values and all this, whatever we try to, you know, decorate it with. But that's what I'm point is that for this particular case, it doesn't take a lot of distinction. And with Obama or somebody that might be, you know, he might have some dark sides to him. I'm sure he does. But
only half of me is the dark side.
that's good. But I do feel like, you know, talk about cancel culture. When you have a president that you can't even say, you know, I don't think that's right behavior. He'll primary you, and he's threatened that. So that's cancel culture. When you have Miss Cheney, Dick Cheney's wife, who says, you know, the thing that led to the insurrection, you know, the president had a lot to do with it. The whole Republican Party will try to take her power away, and at the same time they're talking about cancel culture. So, but we all know that it takes. To me, Cheney, Romney, Sass, Flake, all of them, before they retired, and some of them haven't even retired. Now Sass has got some balls, man. Like, I'm an independent, but when I look at Romney, what do they have to gain? They know they're going to get tweeted at if they go against him. They know the Republican Party are going to try to cancel him. All of them got censored. Cassidy from Louisiana got censored.
Murkowski.
Toobie, or whatever his name is, from Pennsylvania got censored for staying up for the Constitution. So that's the point. Like, this man still wields so much power when we have a Democratic president, a Democratic Senate, and a Democratic House. But yet the Republican Party is still following this man when there's so many great Republican leaders that could rise up. So,
But the question is, he was posing though, is these people think they're doing good?
that's what I'm saying. Trump doesn't think that. He knows he's lying. There's no
I
way.
don't know. I don't think so. I
So
think in Trump's mind,
then he's got an issue. Then he's not right in his mind.
Yeah,
that's-
narcissism.
So he
yeah.
should
That's
be a
what we're
leader.
acknowledging.
No, I'm not saying he should be a leader. I'm not
Because if he
saying that at
doesn't
all.
realize that he's
But I think
misleading
my,
people.
My point is that's the scary thing. I think that's the scariest thing in
I
politics.
like that. Yeah.
Is people are not conscious about their own awareness. They're not aware.
How many
of
times
what
have you
they're
said to yourself, "Man, I've been being a jerk lately, and I didn't really realize."
Yeah, but I can do that because I'm
But
me.
that's being. But what,
Yeah,
that's
but what
okay.
repentance has Trump ever said? He can't even when he's wrong. So
Yeah.
there's no growth there.
No.
No, so he has accountability. People say when Mitt Romney says this is wrong, and if he's really trying to be open-minded, he would listen. But no, what's he do? Cancel Mitt. Let's primary Mitt Romney. Let's do this. So he's not willing to grow.
In his mind, he's doing it for the better of the country.
And
he wants to.
In his mind is the point.
I'm not defending it. I'm just.
Right.
But how do? But that then again though.
These Twitter trolls.
Okay,
everybody.
for instance,
Yeah.
when he got interviewed by Bob Woodford about the pandemic, and he knew how serious COVID was. He goes, I didn't want to panic the American people, so I watered it down. He knew the truth.
Yeah.
You know,
He
that's
had
just
the guts-
one incident.
he had
It's
the
just
guts
gonna
to
go
say.
away.
This is the most powerful
It's gonna
man
go away
in
in
the
a couple
world.
months.
You're telling me he doesn't have access to information to give him truth? Yes, he knows, but he chooses.
Did you see what he said
But
today?
they do that every day.
What did he say today?
Oh, it's classic. He put out an official press release from Trump, and it was like 2 sentences long, and it said, remember, when everyone takes the great vaccine, just remember it was Trump, and it was said something like, he goes, it would have been years, maybe never, if I hadn't have.
Yeah, it's all
it was just
him,
the most
all
like
him.
it was
So
the
that's-
most Trump
but
thing.
We don't want a narcissist, and that's what a narcissist
yeah.
is. Like, listen, this is he's a pathological
Well,
liar, and I'm not a medical doctor, but we can all admit that, you know, when someone cannot tell the truth, even to the degree of anything, I mean that's a narcissistic problem. That's a serious problem.
You must have to be to think that you can run the country, or you could
Yeah.
run for president or run for
Yeah,
office
you gotta
of
be-
any-
Yeah.
You
You're-
could,
have
but
to-
you don't have to
be
emote
kind of-
that, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to emote it.
Yeah,
you can hold it in. You can be humble.
The only difference in Trump and every other politician is he's not a good liar. He's a really bad liar.
Well, I
Like-
disagree, man. Listen, I don't believe politicians are as bad as they are. We still have our fucking Constitution that gives us the right to even do this.
It's because the troops, man.
We're going to get $1,400 worth of money in a couple of weeks, you know, for people that deserve it, you know, with the $80,000 and less, or if you're married. So I'm just saying, to be in a country, whether you agree with stimulus checks, whether you don't agree with it, we live in a country that we're going to get paid. So we live in a beautiful, powerful, flourishing place, and our Constitution is amazing.
This is the best place to be
So
in
when
the
you have
history of
Mike
time
Pence,
ever.
who stood up for the Constitution, and he said Mike Pence doesn't have courage because Mike Pence wouldn't overthrow the Electoral College, that is not a president for the Constitution, and we have to call that out.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Mike Pence had his back for 4 years, and then the last day, January 6th, what's he do? So is that right? Would you say that's right?
No, not at all.
So that's what I'm saying. Mike Pence did what was right. He told he told him, listen, you know, even though Trump still says it was stolen, all this, and all 61 courts said no, Trump, even courts that he appointed judges said no.
Even the
You
own
don't
Supreme
say-
Court
so you're
justices.
still saying he believes he's right?
I think in his own mind, he believes that he's right.
Well,
Yeah,
then-
you
then-
still haven't told me why.
just
you
through
think
the
that
me-
in his mind, he
Just
doesn't
through
think that he's-
narcissism.
Well, just
he
because I
believes
told
that,
you with
yeah.
Bob Woodford,
He's-
he knew.
He's the ultimate prince. In the
I
way
know,
of, like,
but
he's
his
a Machiavelli.
mindset-
He's a Machiavelli.
No, I
Yeah.
just told you with Bob Woodford. This is a prime example. He knew how bad the pandemic was.
He's a
But
person.
he chose to lie to the American people to say it's going to be gone by April.
But on the
it's
other-
going to be gone by March. It's
on
going
the
to be
other
gone by
hand,
summer.
on the other hand of that,
Okay,
Sean,
so you could say maybe, okay, I thought this might cause past it.
Even though doctors told him that wasn't the case.
What if he thought, okay, I thought this
They do
might
that all the
cause
time
mass
now.
panic.
Okay, let me
we can't
interject-
tell people
let
that
me
there's-
interject this
like the
point.
government, we can't tell people there's aliens. There might be mass panic. And
Right.
They might start looting
And
and
kinda-
murdering.
and kinda here's-
he might have thought the same. And I'm not defending him. Don't get me wrong.
but
Like,
I'm not defending him either, but I kind of am in the sense that we're all I view all politicians the
you're
same.
on your own there.
The difference, I think, Sean, and this is just my own opinion, is Trump comes out and he says that, right? He goes, well, I didn't want to cause panic, right? Where I think that if Obama had done the same thing, right, or someone more presidential had said, they would have been like, well, that's great leadership right there, keeping everyone calm. You know what I mean? And I think that's the difference.
Look, you can
and that's
say-
why 75 million people voted for Trump.
Look,
is
yeah,
because-
but you can say, listen, guys, you got 63-some million people on Twitter who love you.
right.
You got Laura Ingraham. This is one of his last presidential things he's doing right before the people are going to vote. And Laura Ingraham, who's had his back on Fox News, she's wearing a mask. And he says, look at Laura Ingraham over here being all politically correct, wearing a mask in front of 30,000 people. You telling me he's not making that political? He knows what that does to his
Right.
base. That is fuel for his. So that's what I'm telling
And
you. He knows what he's doing. He's very smart, and he knows what he is saying.
But what's his
And
point, Sean? Why is he doing that?
Look at the power he's wielding.
That's exactly.
Right.
Yeah,
So he
he's-
knows what he's doing.
he's drunk on the wrong sauce.
He's choosing. He's not like he's genuinely believe. Listen, if 61 courts told you that there's no election fraud, your William Barr said this has been the most secure election in U.S. history,
You
and he
would say
still
that.
says no.
But here's it.
Even though he's got the most powerful, the most the most influential people in his cabinet to give him the truth more than we'll ever have is still. So it's hard for me to believe that he truly, genuinely believes that he believes what he believes when no one else around him does.
But here's the scary thing about Trump's base is what's even because Trump's gone. I mean, he's pretty much been canceled from.
Well, he can run again.
Right, but
Yeah, he
what
could.
did Trump? Because I've seen this. Just most of our area are people who have some kind of affinity towards Trump or what he represents, right? And his whole thing was when he ran was like build the wall, right? Build the wall. He didn't build the wall.
Well,
Right,
few
but
miles,
the point is after he was inaugurated,
side
the
now,
day
okay.
after that, he could have said, "You know what? The wall sucks. That's a stupid idea. Who would come up with that?" And 75 million people would be like, "Yeah, that's right. Screw that
Well,
wall."
that's what I'm saying.
You know what I mean?
He could
And-
have
right.
brought this pandemic to a
And-
level of letting people know, listen, this is a serious thing. It's worse than the flu. We should wear our masks, take it seriously. But he never once did it. The most powerful man, he himself got COVID. The president of the United States, the the most secure people that gets tested every fucking day, gets COVID. If he gets COVID, and why did he get COVID? Because none of his administration was wearing masks. None of them were going by the guidelines because they thought it was all not as serious as it was. So that's what I'm talking about. He had that's just one
But
example.
if the debate is whether people believe, I'm just kind of trying to distill it.
I think
down.
he knows the truth and he chooses not to because it doesn't
So-
benefit him. It's
Exactly.
Not, it's not
He's
advantageous.
selfish.
But his but what's the alternative? I still think it's got to be in his mind. He thinks he's doing the right thing. Because if it isn't,
For him.
what's his
Yeah.
purpose? Let me just
So
I
you
want
don't
to
think
destroy.
people do you think
I
people
want to
just don't
destroy the
lie?
country.
You
I
don't-
want to lie to people intentionally. I want
that's
like
his ego, his narcissism. He thinks he has all the answers, so it's the self-preservation of his
Right.
administration
I
that
think-
justifies
exactly.
the ends.
I think going back to Chris's waffle point, I think Trump's mouth and Trump's actions are two entirely different things.
He's very compartmentalized.
Yeah, because like he said the most insane things.
Yeah.
He
Captain
tweeted out
Covfefe.
the most ridiculous
Feffy.
concepts. But like, people were so, oh my God. Like, well, first of all, Trump's the only dictator in the history of time who you could freely speak out against him so aggressively. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Obama got a lot of hate too, man.
Oh,
For
yeah,
Fox News.
definitely.
I mean, it's not even play. Republicans.
But-
my family disowned my mother and me because we voted for Obama. Literally disowned.
Yeah. But like,
Really?
Yes.
but like, Trump said all of these things. He said some crazy shit.
Yeah.
But he didn't really do any of it. Like he did. I mean, people took his actions seriously.
I'm not
That's
so
what I'm
know what
saying.
I mean?
People believe
But
him.
Trump himself didn't do. Like
I'm not so sure he didn't inject bleach. I'm just saying.
But that's what I'm saying. This man
way
is
too
an
orange,
entertainer.
too.
I was high, but I was
Yes.
clean.
and that's
knows,
the problem.
He
Right.
knows how to wield the minds of people.
Can I
He's
give
a
an
manipulator.
example? Can I give an example of why I still have to disagree with you?
Yeah.
One of the biggest mistakes I ever made in my life was running for state representative. I
Oh.
was still completely naive about everything in government, how it actually worked, what goes on behind the scenes.
Kudos though for trying.
And
Yeah.
there's a guy named Larry Householder in Ohio, and he's the Speaker of the House. Ironically, his name was Householder. And I don't know. I guess it's just meant to be. The guy's a douche.
Too bad he wasn't Willie
And,
Shoemaker.
So long story short, I'm approached on my race about, will you support this guy for speaker? He's going around the state. He's setting up his own PACs. He's trying to basically buy his way to the speakership. If he runs candidates, what he did was he handpicked state representative candidates that would then support him to be speaker,
Right.
and that he would funnel them money through millions of dollars through a PAC. To this day, he technically did nothing wrong. All they got him on was RICO charges.
Right.
Wow.
Technically, everything that he did was legal.
Right.
That's
got
the
him
most.
there.
That's the most dangerous thing I've
Did he
ever.
know though what he was doing was wrong?
So what happened was First Energy. First Energy is a business in Cleveland, Cleveland, Ohio. They basically help power the entire state of Ohio.
It's
and
the
so-
Avon Lake plant
Yeah,
that caused
exactly.
the brownouts back.
Yeah,
in-
exactly,
back in
yeah.
the-
And so he passed this big $1 billion, once he got into speakership, he passed this big $1 billion stimulus, bailout package to First Energy, and all the state representatives that he helped elect with First Energy money, First Energy PAC, passed the bailout. And so I agree with you. I think people give in to the god of power, but it's a false god. And I think it's telling him that he's doing the right thing, because if you talk to him, if you still talk to the state representative who beat me to this day, they said they would still vote for the bailout despite all of that, because in their mind, well, we had to help the people of Ohio make sure that the lights stayed on.
And that's why they pass all this pork stuff and all these stimulus things too. Like the first COVID relief package that Trump signed, it had a designation. Okay, Congress spent time designated. It was like four pages of the bill was something about
what was that?
Buddhist deities, like in Buddhism, like these deities that have died, they were like nationally recognizing them as deities in the Buddhist religion. This was in a COVID relief bill. Now it probably didn't cost any money. There was no money going to but they do that kind of stuff. It's like
it's a 1,000-page thing. And they
$7 million to on research on how monkeys masturbate while high on cocaine, and that's not even far fetched. Like that's not.
That's actually probably something that
right.
Yeah.
And it's like they do that,
time.
and they put this crap. They put this crap in these bills.
They take an application.
Monkeys.
At the end of the day, Trump's no different than any other politician. He came out and was like, first of all, one thing that people didn't acknowledge about Trump, he was like, these stimulus checks need to be higher. $2,000, screw that. Let's give everyone $10,000. Trump just wants people to like him. He doesn't give a crap. But then he railed against, all of this stuff in the bill. It's ridiculous. And he gave that press conference. He was absolutely right. He came out and nailed all this stuff. But then you know what he did? He signed the bill. Mm-hmm. He signed it. He sat there and railed against everything in it. Then he signed it. And that's the problem with these politicians is,
both sides of the mouth.
Right.
That's why they make these packages 700 pages so you can't have a line item vote.
Or they give it
because it would bog it down that much more.
They'll give it to you the night before you're supposed to vote, and you're supposed to read it through.
Right.
Thomas Massey, I've talked to him personally. He's our congressman here, and I talked to him at the Flatwoods Giovanni's, and he was talking about how he's an MIT graduate, right? Brilliant guy. He lives like off the grid and does all of this. He has like all these patents and stuff on stuff he's invented. And he was talking about when he first got to Congress, again, the jaded, he's really going to go in there and do this stuff. The first thing, he got an offer to be on the science and, whatever commission. This guy's perfectly qualified.
Was that the John Kerry grilling?
Maybe.
Was that part of that?
No. That was the political science comment he made. But actually, of all the people on it, he was the only person qualified to be on it because he's an actual scientist. None of the other people were. And they talked about how they basically tried to extort him and said, you have to pay to be on these committees. And if you don't keep your dues, and congressmen make like $150,000 a year or something, you have to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to even be on these committees.
And that's both sides of the aisle. They get there and they say, you're going to vote this way on this bill, whether you like it or not,
it scared
or you're not
me.
getting RNC
Well, that's
or
what I'm
DNC
talking about.
funds.
When you have members of the Republican Party who did not follow them, like you had these constant 5 or 6 or 7,
And
they have nothing
campaign
to gain.
funds were cut out from underneath.
Yes, and they get censored. So to me, that speaks a lot. Going back to your point, I don't know obviously if Trump sincerely believes what he believes, but the point is when you come out with a counterpoint that contradicts him, what does he do? What's he do?
He aggresses you.
So he's not willing to accept it. So for me, that shows that he knows what he's doing.
Well, see, I disagree with Justin in the sense that I don't think that he thinks he's doing what's best. I think what he's doing is what's giving him success is for him to be contradictory.
No. Well,
he like his success. He won the presidency because he was contradictory to everything in Washington. Yeah. All of the success he's had is because he stood up against the entire political establishment and said, "Screw you." If they said we like blue, he said I like green. Mm-hmm. They said if it's nighttime outside, he said it's daytime, and that's what's given him success to a fault, to a point where he couldn't stop. He just had to oppose everything.
Yeah, and in a way,
I mean, did Trump really know there wasn't election fraud, or in his mind did he think there really was? Because I look at someone like, my mom and dad, some very intelligent people sitting around on Facebook watching these 10-minute long conspiracy videos about the election, and they believe every single. And I'm like, would you turn that trash off? Why the hell are you watching that?
Well, it's like,
and Trump surrounds himself with Rudy Giuliani and all these kind of people. Like, no, look at this fact. Trump he's a boomer.
They want to win.
So they're Eagles. Egos cannot handle the alternative.
They want to win. Winning is the point. It doesn't matter how you win. Every president lies. No more tax. No new taxes. No, they lie to get in. Winning is the point. A lot of these guys are lawyers too. They want to win. Winning is the point. It's not how you get there, who you have to trip, who you have to kill. I mean, it doesn't matter. Kill, ruin.
Hillary Clinton's body count, folks. I'm telling you.
Like, it's that serious. Like,
Yeah.
you will do anything to win this race because there are no rules. Like, that's how it comes down to. So, in their mind they want to win. That's what I believe. They want to win. They want to be the winner. They don't care what happens. They just want to be in the power and have control, and there's benefits to it.
This is why we need to abolish the government.
But then there'll still be a government because you'll be your own government, right? So then you can't call the police because
I want to be a warlord. I'm going to start.
Right. But
I mean, I like to have the police. I like that.
Yeah.
They shot a deer in your yard yesterday.
True. That's true. They're not doing a good job, but that's a whole other story I need to tell. But
I think George Floyd would vote differently.
Had Trump never thought the election was rigged, Rudy Giuliani never would have gave a conference outside of the wrong Four Seasons. So that was completely worth it.
Let me ask you this. Now, President Trump, any president for that matter of our country, if anyone disagrees with me, please speak up, would have the most
intelligent,
profound lawyers on his team, right?
I don't think there's such a thing.
He's got access?
But yeah,
no,
in
as
theory.
a president, you would have access to the best lawyers in the country.
Yeah, Rudy Giuliani.
He used to, like Dershowitz and those guys, but they stiffed him.
40, he's not relevant no more. So if his own counsel really thought there was something there, they would have represented him. But he got Rudy Giuliani, who hasn't practiced in 40 years. 40 years. There's
and
other
the spray
lawyers
tan thing.
out there. And his own team, his own lawyers, when it comes to the impeachment, dropped it because he wanted to push the whole conspiracy fraud, and his lawyer's like, I'm out.
But why would he want to?
2 weeks before the impeachment, and so they had to get two guys from Pennsylvania, or one guy from Pennsylvania and one guy from New York.
Why would someone that wanted to take down the entire mafia single-handedly want to
ruin his reputation?
Ruin his reputation, and
I mean, I guess.
But I would come back at you. Why would Trump get somebody who hasn't
it.
practiced in 30 years?
Because
he knows Rudy is a fighter for him. That he will go in court and say the most outlandish. Get that witness, the blonde girl who was drunk, saying, whatever, that whole scene of her.
Well, that's always been a history.
Well, yeah, but no. Well, I'm talking about the actual. No, there was. I know what you're talking about. No, the Rudy Giuliani's witness who said that there was.
Well, see,
that's what you know what I'm saying. That's what they got to present. No, there was nothing.
But see,
there.
that's a pattern with Trump. Is he always, because you've seen it when he first was elected and he appointed Mike Jenkins to be the secretary of the secretary of I don't know, waffles or something, right?
Right.
He's the most brilliant. He's the smartest guy. No one greater. What a great guy. 4 weeks later, he fires him. Guy was always a total loser. Never liked him. Small dick, terrible. But, it's like, if you like Trump, you're awesome, you're great. If you cross him, or you're a loser, you're sad, you're whatever. Like weak.
He doesn't even
he
have very
said
good.
that Ted Cruz's dad killed JFK.
Yes.
And called his wife a dog, and he's like, "That's our guy."
Who was the head of the? Who's the?
Divas.
No, not. It was from Georgia. Rosenstein.
Sean, what is it with you and the Jews, man?
Georgia.
The elections official.
The elections official said that his brother was a Chinese informant. That's why they want Biden's in there. Because the Bidens are in with the Chinese. Like, these are
a family
just
of
outlandish
lifelong GOPers.
conspiracy theories
right.
that this president decides to spew. And this is all documented. This will always be in our history of things our president has said and those outlandish things. So listen, I get how men and women we have a tendency to be corrupt. I get that. Thankfully, we live in a democracy, which might not be the most perfect system, but it's the best system we have now. So far. And I feel that, when you have a president 8 months before an election already claiming voter fraud, saying there's going to be massive voter fraud, and you're already prepping the seed, you're already prepping the minds for people, and then the moment it happens, there was voter fraud. Now, does that mean that every
he said he was
politician
going to do that before
Yes,
they even voted?
But here's the thing now. That means that any president now, Biden, could scream voter fraud his next election, lose by a landslide,
Actually, he would
take
say-
it to court,
It didn't work.
spew all kinds of lies saying it was stolen, and then start another insurrection, right?
Right.
Is this what we want to happen? No. But Trump and Rudy Giuliani and the whole, Newsmax and OAN, who's pushing it, who were getting sued by Dominic, the voting machine, because they knew they were spewing lies, and they had to backtrack all those stories. And 75 million people, 70% of those 75 million people still think the election was stolen from
Well,
them.
let me tell you why.
And that's sad.
Let me tell you why. Because they are, like Trump, and I'm agreeing with you here, like Trump, they do believe it. And whatever, all of this stuff, like what conspiracy theories do is they confirm your own bias.
Yes, echo
These
chambers.
people were already convinced that the election was stolen before it happened. So when they get, there was real serious counts of voter fraud, and there was serious counts of all this stuff. Not enough to affect the election.
But that's in every election.
But
Yeah.
right,
Every election. And this is the most secure election.
in the mind of
for our
these
officials.
people. Oh, they found 10,000 votes in Georgia, which right,
Non-consequential.
and it's like, well, if they found that, what else didn't they find? You know what I mean? And then you just go down this rabbit hole
Yes.
of because they already believe it, and it doesn't matter what evidence to the contrary. They're only going to use the evidence in the confirmation of what they already believe.
So this is the first time these last few years that I really believe that presidents do matter. Because when you have a president who feeds that, you didn't have Obama tweeting every day saying fake news. There are, every fake news is something that if it's not uplifting you, everything's fake, right?
Can we?
So when you're attacking the fourth estate of our government, we need the news. Now, are they perfect? Of course, there's biases and things, but we
there's
need
evidence.
accountability. I'm glad we live in a country that we can say our president's fucked up. Our news media should scrutinize our leaders to the point where it is annoying. But
the problem is, and the reason why 75 million people voted for Trump is because they do that with Trump.
Right.
But they don't do that. They didn't do it with Obama, they're not doing that. Like the latest thing I heard about Joe Biden is a scandal because it's about his dog.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And it's like
That's the best they
really,
got.
and it's like the media is literally like, Trump's not around no more.
kind of
Thank
boring.
God we could lean back and just not worry about the government.
But
anymore.
Trump's game.
One of these reporters actually said, she tweeted out and said, Joe and Kamala are in the White House now. The adults are in control. We can go back to bed. And it's
Right.
like they're driving us down the road, and we're in the back seat, and we can comfortably sleep
I haven't heard
safely.
that. Oh my God.
This reporter actually said that we can comfortably sleep safely, knowing they're going to get us home safe.
No, that ain't
And
good.
it's like,
Yeah.
really? Like, oh, we're not talking about kids in cages anymore. Although 3 new facilities opened up, and the migrant cases at the border has tripled.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, what's her name? Frozen Elsa, Adina
Yeah.
Menzel,
Yeah.
tweeted like on November 7th. She's like, "Thank God, my kid just started crying and said, 'No more kids in cages, mommy.'" The kids are still in cages. They're still there. There's
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
There's
Well,
more.
but listen, Biden has only been in office for over a month, right? So all that red tape it takes a lot to go through to backtrack.
He needs to
what
tweet
other
more if he's gonna
priorities-
do something. I mean,
But go ahead.
Well, I don't have trust in any of it, man.
Yeah.
I'm not defending.
I think
any
you
of
have
it.
Oh, I
running-
know you're not.
Any
you
politician-
running. Your
I've-
perspective in
I've
running.
been trying to run.
I liked
man.
that perspective
I
in you
have
running.
a lot of perspectives of running. I could go on it for days.
Me,
Yeah.
Chris knows. Like I've discussed my goal. I mean, I want to run one day as an independent. I don't want to be pulled either way.
Can't win as an independent.
Uh,
Statistically impossible.
Well, that's just it. Like there's like 2
I mean,
independents.
unfortunately,
Yeah, there's like 2 independents in the whole Angus and
King, Angus Lee and Bernie Sanders.
yes. But that's just the
That's
point
Vermont
that I
and
feel
Maine.
like
That's
My
very-
independent
but here's
colleague
the thing,
Angus
though.
Vermont
Lee.
and weird is different.
I think
Vermont and
you
Maine
would-
are very weird states.
after the insurrection happened, a large percentage of Republicans dropped the Republican Party and labeled as independents. So I feel like there's going to be a strong in the
I
next
hope so.
4 or 5
I hope
years
so.
a strong
I think it
independent
will.
base.
I don't have that confidence, but I hope so.
Well, me too. Honestly, I mean, because we saw an extreme these last 4 years. Okay, we had Obama for 8, and then we saw, I bring Obama up just because Trump seemed like there was no other president ever in our American history other than it was Obama. That's all he ever would talk about was Obama, Obama, Obama. But we got him, we got Trump, and as you said earlier, he was supposed to shake up Washington and drain the swamp and all that.
No, he didn't drain the swamp.
No, he brought the swamp in for sure.
Right.
And that doesn't surprise me. I mean, as you said, none of us know. All of us here are very on point when it comes to, we know we don't put our full trust into an individual. But unfortunately, when you have an individual as influential as Trump, and he takes his platform and he decides to wield it in a way that is consequential. Obama was very popular, and he could have done so much more with his popularity if he wanted to. They say a good running government, people don't pay attention to. But when it's fucked up, that's when everybody's talking about it.
But that's the problem is the media decides when it's fucked up.
Yeah, the Huffington Post laid off they just announced massive layoffs today.
Yes.
Actually, was it a couple hundred employees?
Yeah, that goes back to y'all aren't old enough to remember this, but like back in the 80s, early on in the Reagan days, and I'm not saying in general, the fairness doctrine was messed with, because back then you didn't have these news networks. It was, you got the nightly news from the news desk, from Walter Cronkite, whatever, and it wasn't editorialized. It was it was delivered.
Well, again, here's the problem.
And you consume it.
Now we
now
live
it's
in
all
an
binary.
entirely different world, because even you can make the CNN, MSNBC, Fox News argument. They're not even relevant anymore. People are getting news from Patriot Mike on Facebook.
Yes.
Or, some guy in his truck. Let me tell you what now, it's like, or they're getting there from, woke, he, him, non-binary, Jenkins.
Right.
Mike
so
Lindell bought
now
an hour segment on
Yes.
OAN.
Yeah,
Mike
now-
Lindell guy.
so
And
now-
OAN had to do a 2-minute long intro saying, we do not support what this guy's about to say. We hope it doesn't fuck our company up.
Yeah, so now the binary went from MSNBC and Fox News.
Is it binary
Now-
or non-binary? I'm sorry.
No, the individual is non-binary. So the binary went from Fox News and MSNBC, and now nobody pays attention to that. They're getting it from social media. They're getting it from Patriot Mike,
Yes.
or
QAnon,
or woke McGee over here. Like, and it's the same dichotomy. It's just now way more individualized.
But
now we put because Patriot Mike has 7 million followers on Facebook. Jesus Christ! I mean,
But whose fault
he
is
couldn't
it?
be lying,
Is
right?
it Patriot Mike's fault?
No, it's
or is
the
it-
it's the media. Well, I think
We
we
should
should
start that account right now. That's what I'm thinking.
There's no
you
way it doesn't
should, dude.
exist.
Your alter identity.
Your next Twitter
man.
that nobody will follow.
Yeah. Hey man, guess
But
what?
that goes back
I just
to-
discovered 17 million votes in Nevada, man. I got the documents right
They were in
here.
my trunk all along.
I'll show you in a few days.
I like the idea of the politicians not thinking they're right, thinking that they're being good, because it's the classic villain that we love to watch on any movie. The classic villain of, they think that they're like, I mean, bringing up Thanos, for heaven's sake. Thanos is like, this is gonna be good. I'm gonna kill half of everybody, and everybody's gonna be happy after that. Like, he thought that was a good idea. Like, he's like, this is good. If we kill half of the universe, then everything's gonna grow back, but he thought that was his mission and it was his purpose, but it was really evil, and like, so that's, I think I like that the thinking of that's probably how the politicians are. They don't know, they think they're doing they're destroying and making people be against each other, and that's gonna cause some kind of good thing, but they're deceived.
That was the argument of the anti-Bill Gates people. They're like, well, Bill Gates wants to wipe people off the face of the earth because we have to save the planet.
Oh, I've heard that. Yeah, and there's a lot of movies like
You
that.
missed the Bill Gates conversation.
Oh,
by the way.
okay. Sorry.
We already
Went to
touched
the
on Bill
comment.
Gates. Yeah.
But yeah, I think that these people, I've met a lot of politicians myself, and they live in another world. They don't even know the common person. They don't know what we do. They don't go to a job. They don't pay taxes. They don't even get the same health care we get. They don't live in the same, but they think that they're doing something good. And listen, I've been in, I've been in a low in a company. I've been high in a company, and you lose perspective.
Oh,
You know,
absolutely.
you lose perspective of what it's like to be this person. That's the base. You lose it, and if you're there long enough, like Donald Trump lives in a freaking tower, you know, and he just wants. The only thing he's like just he's the likes hit a button. It's the dopamine centers in his brain. It's the only way he can be happy.
Here's the thing.
He has to have that.
Here's where
Attention.
Trump. Here's
Attention.
where Trump, or actually not Trump. Here's where, like, say the Democrats made a mistake. If they just started attacking him from day one, if they just said, "Hey Trump, you're our friend. We love you. You're the greatest," you know, they could have put whatever they wanted on his desk, and he would have signed it. So again, Donald Trump has no moral guiding compass. He has no political philosophy.
Yeah, he wants sycophants
Again,
around him.
Right.
Yeah.
So, like,
Who flattered him
going
more?
back to the stimulus bill, Democrats were like, "We need $2,000." Trump's like, "No, screw that. $10,000." You know, he's
I was like, oh shit, what are you doing?
You know, like when he first got into office, like, you know, typically Republicans run on fiscal conservatism, cutting the budget. Like Trump was like, the Democrats were like, "We need a $1.8 billion or $1 trillion infrastructure budget." Trump's like, $1.8 billion? What is this, Disneyland? $6 trillion infrastructure budget. You know what I mean? If they had just said, "Hey," you know, if they sucked up to him like the MAGA people do, they could have had whatever they wanted. Because Trump just wants to be, you know, that's his dopamine center. You know, he just wants to be liked.
Back to Chris's point though, about
Thanos.
the biggest
About Thanos.
The biggest
Skechers.
problem is people get so distant as they move higher up.
Yeah, they do.
These people even come from families that are already distant, and then they're just starting off. I know.
Yes.
I think we talked about the other day.
Yeah.
You ever watch Undercover Boss? Like,
Yeah.
I've seen
one of the
it.
greatest
Yeah,
shows.
yeah.
And the biggest, every single problem with every single corporation is ultimately that the people on top are sitting in their comfortable office, drinking coffee, going to work every day. They're not on the ground. They're not at rallies, you know, going through the drive-through.
With the busted speaker.
Know that the speaker is busted, you know, and the poor employees are like, "What'd you say? What'd you say?" They can't even do their job because they're not on the ground. They have no idea. And I've worked.
Yeah, man.
I mentioned a few other places I've worked, and I've worked in higher up places, but the people that I've worked with are so distant from reality that it's sickening.
Yes.
I'm working at a bar now, and the people that work at the bar are actually more down to earth, cooler people. I mean, and the people I've worked with in these higher up positions, they don't know how to handle real life. Their first job was working in politics, or their first job was being a manager. It's like you should at least have to be yelled at at McDonald's by someone behind the counter over a cheeseburger to humble yourself a little bit
Right, you should have
before
been a
you go
grunt
on to a
somewhere
management
along the way.
position. Like,
Yeah.
You know, you saying that reminds me about how people can relate to Trump, and I know I'm bringing up Trump a lot, and
You
but
have.
it's
so
just,
I- I
it's
have a
just the
lot.
fact that people
You
feel
might
like
like
they
him.
connect
I'm
to
not
Trump,
sure.
but Trump comes, as you said, from his Eiffel Tower. You know, he came from a millionaire family. Trump has never worked a day in his life,
No.
right? Not to say he's not a good business guy, even though he's bankrupt 7 times and whatever else might have happened.
That's pretty common for the president. Yeah,
But you get
That's how
Obama,
Jefferson ended up.
who started
right?
working at 15 years old at a Baskin Robbins.
Bush.
He's called an elitist. You know, like the Republican Party marked Obama because he went to Harvard, because he's highly educated, because he talked really well. He came from a single mother and grandmother family.
Yeah, in the
Worked at Baskin Robbins at 15 years old.
Actually,
What
my
better
mother
person-
worked for the CIA, and that's how I was.
But he was a community organizer in Chicago.
yeah.
What more he has on, and it's just how funny how it got twisted, how the narrative of his story got twisted as he's the elitist somehow, but yet Trump is someone who can connect to the backwoods boys here, and it's just
that's
like,
very odd.
I don't know how they connect to him.
Because they said he can't be bought, so he's one of us.
Because I think the reason they connect to him is because, again, what eventually was Trump's demise as his career in politics was he bucked the system too far. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Because when he came along, he was right, except all the
No doubt, no
except all
question.
of the Ted Cruz dad killed JFK stuff.
Right.
But when he said, people are buying off these politicians, he was right. When he said this government's broken, he was right. When he said Washington's a swamp, he was right.
But
then-
he was already saying something we already knew and we're
but
already
then
feeling.
even people right, and people who even supported him and probably still support him are like, hey, we should probably do this. He was like, nope, I'm not gonna. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And he just couldn't stop. It's like a freaking radio flyer going downhill.
Yes.
He just couldn't help himself.
I think
Like-
he had an awesome opportunity to
Yes, he
be
did.
to be somebody who was outside of the whole thing.
But again, like
to-
he could have got it done. Like when he said drain the swamp, it's like great. He's like, I don't want to start a new war. Awesome, I support that.
Yes.
And then he appointed John Bolton to be the national security guy. It's like his cabinet could have been interchanged with Hillary Clinton or George Bush.
Yeah.
Like that was the swamp. Like every turn, like he did the opposite of what he said. Like I said earlier, we don't want to start a new war, so he puts the most hawkish guy in there. We don't want to do this, so he puts the worst. You know what I mean?
So,
Like,
so I guess going back to my point to answer your question about, how do I of course I don't know his thoughts, but I would just say that whoever is president, more than likely, it's going to have a Democratic feel. If it's a Democratic president, you might have the same. I know a lot of Obama's people that were in his are going into Biden's administration. You have that, and I get that part of the game of it.
You want a job,
But if
man.
you have when you have such an influence, I mean, Trump knows he is very influential, and I just feel like he took advantage of the vulnerable people. That's all I think.
In his life, man, it's a whole completely different ball.
Absolutely.
Did you know when Jared Kushner's dad, Charlie Kushner, bribed his own brother-in-law?
fuck his
with
yes,
a hooker.
With a hooker, yes.
Yeah, I mean that's just the game these elitists play.
That's
every
true,
single
man.
and that's
day.
that dude. That's t-ball compared to what they
Compared
really
to
do.
what?
Oh, that's
Absolutely,
T-ball.
absolutely. So.
Tea bag, maybe.
For sure, teabag.
It was never confirmed she was actually a hooker. Just
pushing for a Kushner.
Pushing for a cushion.
I've never even heard of a gold shower.
But no, that's a great point, bro. That's a very good point. I mean, level that Trump was on before politics was, he was in some deep places. I'm not saying with mafia or whatever, but he definitely has some connections and or whatever. He brought that into the White House. That mentality of the street, of that.
I mean,
I just don't think
you
that
have to
was
look at
good.
the contrast of, and this is going to get me in trouble, is you have a black president, and then you have the contrast of that the next time. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And you have to look at all of our nation still has some racism in it. It straight up does. There's no
well, you know what's
way around
fascinating
it.
though about that is
So
there was probably a lot of crossover between Obama voters and
Oh yeah.
Trump voters.
Yes. They didn't
Because-
want to vote for Hillary. They
And
voted for
and
Trump.
I'll tell you the reason why I think that is
the reason he
because,
won is because Hillary ran.
you know
Yes.
a lot of people
Yes.
around here are Republicans, but a lot of these people, good old boys, these whatever coal miners and stuff, they're Union to the bone.
Yes.
It wouldn't matter if they put up the blackest person in the history of time.
They're
It
for the
doesn't
unions,
matter
they win.
how racist they are. They're going to vote for a Democrat, and it just doesn't matter. And the
Yeah.
same thing with Republicans.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter because if you notice this trend, in the last few years, Trump got more black vote than any other
And
Republican.
Hispanic.
And
Yeah.
Hispanic. Like 75% of Cubans voted for Trump.
Yes.
So like this whole racism narrative is kind of but like
Well, because they don't want a socialistic country because they felt like Democrats are going to try
Right.
to lead it that way. So they're they've been
Well then,
Yeah,
okay,
and-
maybe my
and the-
point was totally no.
yeah,
I
and the
agree.
point is, I think
Good
the
points.
racism stuff is almost metaculture, if that makes any sense. Is like because I think we're gonna get to the point where, especially with all this woke stuff and racism's everywhere and it's under the rug and it's it's out to get you. People are gonna get sick of it eventually, and then the whole this what were we talking about earlier? Offended on behalf of other people too. That's the latest thing. It's
Yeah.
like no one's really upset about any of this stuff. Meanwhile, again, not belaboring my point here, but like we're still bombing other countries. Like we're worried about pancake syrup.
Well, all that race
and all of
stuff
this other stuff.
and all this woke stuff is a distraction from
Yes.
what's really happening.
Yes.
well. Go ahead.
Can I make one point really fast to your point on racism? Yeah, there's this misconception, especially in our area. Well, all these people were just a bunch of dumb racists, this and that. When I ran for state representative, I knocked on 8,000 doors, and I was talking to people every single day, and I heard the word. I voted for that N-word Obama twice.
Wow.
You heard that?
Yeah. So this idea that okay,
What a
people-
contrasting
he might
statement.
they might be racist. That's true, but they still voted for him. You can't say that they're racist and didn't vote for him.
Wow.
Like, I mean, do they? I mean, That was one of the most interesting things I heard.
That is the
I
most
heard it,
interesting
I
thing I've heard
heard
of
it tons of times.
Yeah.
Tons of times, dude. At least 100 times.
Wow.
I heard people say that.
Wow.
For me,
And they said that, and a lot of older women said they wouldn't vote for Hillary Clinton because a woman shouldn't be president. It was all a man never told me that.
wow.
Wow.
They said, "I'm not. We're too emotional."
That's some first-hand experience
Wow.
that I can.
old ladies.
Like, to your face said that. Wow.
If you think about it, though, racism's not that far in our past. Like, our grandparents lived through segregation.
Oh yeah.
You know, it was just in 1965 there was Voting Rights Act got passed for African American women, and that's just 50 some years ago. So there's plenty enough people that were raised in a society where there was segregation and racism was still thriving, and we're not that far separated from it. And so it's
The
not
racism has
surprising that when
levels,
you
though.
have,
I mean,
you know, not that it wasn't around. Of course, it's been around, but and not to beat a dead damn horse, but you know, I just feel like
If you
for
say the
whatever
word Trump
reason,
right now, you're gonna get in trouble.
For one reason or another, even our FBI, even our all our 16 surveillance agencies said that white supremacy groups have been growing more perpetually these last 4 years than any.
But why
time.
is that?
because you feel
Exactly.
threatened.
Why
Because
is that?
because first
Why
of all,
white supremacy groups?
well, and I'll give you my analysis, and this isn't from first
We have,
knowledge.
we
I'm
have-
not a
we
white
have a couple more
supremacist.
minutes here.
I'm not a
Yeah,
white
I gotta go
supremacist.
myself.
So, but here's the thing, and this, I don't think it was Obama, but it was the culture around it, where, again, this woke stuff and all this stuff has been introduced, where if you just tell someone they're racist enough, eventually
It's true.
it's going to take hold. You know what I mean? If
Saul
poor
Alinsky's rules
if-
for radicals
if
just keep
poor-
saying something.
Yeah,
if poor
yeah.
white guy over here in Westwood who lives in a trailer park and works for minimum wage and bust his ass, and you know they're telling him he has privilege and he's a racist and all of the world's problems are because of him when he's just some poor dope.
That's a good point. Yeah.
And he's been told, he's 30 years old and he's been told his entire life that he's racist and everything he likes is racist, and that his entire foundation that he was raised on is racist.
But that's not
You
your
know what?
everyday person, though. That's an extreme case for sure.
But also these white supremacist groups, although they may be growing, they're still a very small portion of people.
well, no, you think who they're recruiting? Young,
Right.
19, 18, 20-year-old men who are lost, who want to be a part of
Right,
something.
and but that's why this. Have you heard about the guy? He's a blues musician, black guy, who went into KKK
yeah.
Yes.
and converted these people.
Yes,
That's
yes.
exactly.
Davis, I think is his last
that's
name.
exactly what he said.
Yes.
They were getting kids, man, kids on dope and all this stuff,
And it
they
goes
were
back to
recruiting them.
it goes back to going. If we were born in the Middle East, I mean, Chris talked about this. If I was born in the Middle East, back and I was 18, 19 when I was very zealous for Christianity at the time, I would have been an extremist.
Right.
You know, there's no question because there's something about that age when you're searching, you're exploring, and you need to be connected to something. And so
But also,
we're
you would have
having
been groomed.
cells. There are domestic terrorist cells growing in our own country, and we talk about the Middle East of their cells, of the terrorist cells, and we're that country with domestic terrorism. And so the breeding ground for racism, you know, I mean, of course, after Vietnam, it really started because you have a lot of military guys after Vietnam wanting to come together because you know they didn't like what the government was doing and kind of overthrow the government type of idea. That's why you saw a lot of insurrectionists. There were a lot of ex-military people, right? So a lot of these groups, from what I've researched on from these different security agencies, said that a lot of these members are ex-military members who are trying to recruit younger members and who want a predominantly white culture. You know,
But there has to have been a breeding ground for that
for
at
that.
some point.
And I feel these last 4 years, and I'm not blaming Trump, but these last 4 years, whatever the case was, it definitely brought it to the surface.
And I think ultimately that's
More proudly, too.
right, exactly. And I think ultimately that's the problem. Is I don't know, man. That's the problem with the pendulum swinging. You know what I mean? So you get the super woke culture, and to where people are, everything's racist, everything's sexist, everything's this, that. And eventually the pendulum's going to swing the other way, man, and it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be pretty. It's going to be it's going to be race war again. It's going to be culture war, and like we don't need it to swing back and forth. We need a balance.
Of course, but of course we're dealing with human nature, right?
Right.
So that's what's going to happen. And yeah, so I would just say that ideally, though, just if we can just make love,
Haha.
smoke weed,
I'm down.
do some shrooms. No. But
3 for 3.
yes. But yeah, man, I think that with these last 4 years, the racism surfaced, and I think that's a great thing. It needed to surface. We
Yeah.
really
Oh.
needed to see that our
Yep.
country isn't a beacon as much as we like to think of it as a beacon. But now, what do we do with the junk that's on top now, right? With all the kind of like purifying gold, you know, what are we going to do with it?
What are we gonna do with it? Okay.
And this podcast has been brought to you by Skechers.
And the
Depends.
And I appreciate everybody coming, and we're gonna go. You have a choice: love or no love. Thank you.
Friends, colleagues, strangers, to invisible wires.
Thank you for listening to the Invisible Wires podcast. You can email us at invisiblewirespodcast@gmail.com. You can interface with us on Instagram at invisible_wires. We appreciate you listening, and we hope you have a great week.